Oh no, they're gone. Oh no, they're here again.
Oh.
Ireland, Denmark, French.
I don't see it.
Can't you see?
Oh, yeah.
Look at my screen. Maybe you can see those. Here's Morocco.
Yeah, yeah. Así
That's
necesitamos.
Mauritania.
It's here's Sudan on
And
Mars.
that's Egypt.
Yep.
Here.
Sudan. Okay, that is weird.
Here is India. Here's Pakistan. Here's Iran. Iraq.
Kenya.
It looks like the
Small.
goddamn Death Star. What the hell?
It's all on Mars. I mean, that's great. I want to go there. There's a second world.
This is so weird.
Kenya, Somalia, Congo. Let's go to America. Here's USA, Mexico, Cuba.
Chile. What?
Oh man, this is great.
Amazing.
No, this is the projection of the Earth over Mars.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why they.
This is an error.
I know. It's completely bugged. Now they're gone. And they're here again. Here's North Pole. Here's Antarctica.
Well,
You
I
see?
see something entirely different. Like completely different.
I know. I mean,
What's the point of this?
what?
What are you guys doing?
I don't know. Just
We were looking at Google
We're
Earth,
browsing
and then, they
maps
started
of
looking at the other
planets,
planets
guys.
and saw that Mars has the same
We're
terrain
browsing
as
the
Earth.
maps of the planets.
maybe
It
it
looks
isn't
like
even.
a teenage kid with a bunch of pimples.
I mean, yeah.
Look at Europa. It's a different type of Europa. What the?
Here I live. Pretty much. Here in Zurich. Look, I found my city on Mars. Let's see what planets are made. Oh, FIFA
That's
World
beautiful.
Museum.
It's
I
beautiful.
know.
You're lucky.
Right?
Amazing.
look
I'm so
how blurry.
disappointed. They're not showing the planets surrounding it. Why? Boo.
Alright.
Where's Saturn? This is a moon of Saturn, so why can't I see Saturn?
Is P. Mars even here? He invited me to this thing.
Nah, I don't know.
Here.
It's
Proof
a-
that there is a second
Yeah, he's
world.
here.
the Earth is
All right.
flat.
No.
What?
It is not true, dude. Look. Here's a proof, P. Mars. Can you see it?
Oh, look, Pluto. The fake
Here.
Pluto.
This
Look
might
at it.
prove the Earth is flat right now.
That it's flat?
Yeah, this is the proof.
Look, this is how Pluto is supposed to be looking.
Otherwise there wouldn't be
Zurich.
another world.
Zurich on Mars is proof the Earth is flat.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, that's very highly scientific. Thank you for this.
No problem.
What is this?
Yeah, I just convert to
Can
flat Earth.
you write a mathematic equation now that will help prove this? Because I need to see that.
Yeah.
I know you do, and that's the problem.
It's not a problem. Come on, you guys always want to see the curve. Can I not see a mathematical equation for once?
Okay.
Uh,
Here. Zurich
we have an
plus Mars
What?
equals flat.
Oh my god, check this out, guys. You can actually, they have a map.
Is that the FSS,
The ISS.
Fake Space Station? I'm
like
calling
that.
it the FSS in response to the flat earther.
I like FSS.
For fuck's sake.
Fake space station. That
Why
shit is
can't I
dope.
move?
Yeah.
This is
Hey, you can't
stupid.
use that.
It's just one turnaround image. Why can't I move? Like Street
Or you
View.
could say ISS imitation
This is so
space station if
disappointing.
you really want to go there.
This is
Here.
stupid.
I find a guide how to see the transits of the ISS between the moon and Earth, or in front of the sun. You know, there's even a video of those.
What the
This is
fuck?
great. I mean,
It's ridiculous.
something is up there, but I don't.
Oh, look at all the satellites. So real. Look at this. It's amazing.
Here. Here is the ISS flying in front of the moon. Whee!
There you go. Now you know what takes pictures of Earth. There it is.
Yes. Here is the proof. Here's a picture from this telescope, ISS transiting.
Is that Darth Vader's ship?
Yeah.
TIE fighter.
Yes.
It is.
It's
Sweet.
great, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope Donald Trump gets his Space Force up soon. I don't want Darth Vader to take over.
Yeah, who do you think is?
Although, if he set up a lightsaber
Space
training
Force.
academy, I'd be the first to fucking sign up.
Space Force is a bunch of stormtroopers.
It's more like Dark Helmet.
But honestly, guy, how is this possible with the moon transit of the ISS? I mean, it can't be a hologram because holograms wouldn't block light. It might be fake, but here's like an introduction how to do it, and everyone with a telescope can see the same results. How are they doing it? How are they blocking light from the moon or from the sun with this
It's the
thing?
fluoride in the water. It's not actually fluoride.
I don't know what type of telescopes are they using. Because if they're using digital ones, it's very easy to basically project shit in there digitally.
I can't believe all of those were satellite.
I disagree with you, Arwin, because if the satellite is isn't connected to the outside world, how on earth would the satellite know when to project those pictures of the ISS transiting
It
the
doesn't
sun?
need to. It just needs to be rendered within the image you're watching through in the camera.
Yeah, and then you look at the sun when with the satellite or the moon when the ISS shouldn't be transiting, and then you see it and then you compare the time and then you think like, what the fuck is happening? But
Right.
yeah, it seems that it's kind of true that when they say it's transiting the sun or the moon, that you actually can see it, and at no other point they
Well, I've
even
never
gave you
seen
the
it.
dates. Well, everyone who wants to disprove it can do it by himself, and it isn't even that big of a
If you
deal.
guys
Hey,
are
Zinder,
talking,
we'll try
Zinder,
that out
ask,
one day.
ask Nummy, Zinner. Ask what he thinks about the ISS and what it is.
Yeah, he already answered it, like some plasma thing or so with lasers.
Did you look it up?
Well, I said that's
I've seen a like 20-site document about this, and I didn't really convince me.
well, I just thought I was just raising that as a possibility. I didn't say I thought that's what it was necessarily.
Yeah, this is a military military technology, they claim, which I don't even believe it exists.
Well, there is this idea of like an artificial star, right?
Mhm.
Synthetic, like these guide star technology that they can create.
Yeah, with the lasers, but those are just lasers in the atmosphere to counteract the atmospheric distortions to look at stars.
Well, they
You
create the idea is that they create a plasma in the
Mhm.
in the sodium layer or whatever. If that, yeah, I don't know if that's true, but that's something I read about.
And I mean, this thing transiting the moon doesn't look like plasma to me, and this shape shouldn't it be
What do
like
you
a
mean?
ball?
How does it not? Why do you say it doesn't look like plasma?
Because if you do it with plasma, it should be like more of a ball than a firefighter thing from Star Wars.
TIE fighter.
Why do you feel
Firefighter.
the need
Firefighter,
to
sorry. Yeah.
ad hoc hypothesize endlessly, Nomi? Because anything could be possible.
Well,
So
I
what's
didn't
the
say it's
point?
not a hypothesis.
Why,
I'm just
why
saying.
what's the point of just like throwing something out there and go, well, anything could be possible? I'm just saying, like, anything could be possible, really.
That's-
What's
No,
the?
I think it's just
Isn't that like just totally
saying that
useless?
what I don't think it's
It's
possible.
just like a
that there's-
useless thing to see. Just like a useless thing to add to a conversation, and you do it all the
Okay, well,
time.
can I answer your question? I'm just saying I don't think it's possible that there's an orbiting space station because I don't believe in orbiting.
Mhm.
And so
Is
I'm
it just
saying-
orbiting that you don't believe in?
Well, that's the main thing, that main problem I have with it, yeah.
Why do you have a problem with it, by the way?
Because I don't think there's an orb.
Did anybody really think that there are people in a tin can flying around the Earth at 17,500 miles per hour?
Yeah,
No.
and don't get caught
That
up on
doesn't
speed.
seem.
Don't get caught up on speed, man. Come on. Have you ever?
I'm not-
We're not
Have you
getting
ever-
caught up on speed. We're getting
I'm not
caught
getting
up
caught
on
up on it.
attracting
I'm-
masses, and you
You brought up
believing
the
that.
speed like as if that matters. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because they're not up there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, bro.
It doesn't matter that they are up there going that fast. You can go that fast and not even know you're going that fast, man.
You don't
How
know
do you
that.
know that?
You're just appealing to an authority.
How do you
Well,
know
because
that?
I know
Have
that.
you ever gone 17,500 miles per hour and not known it?
No.
Okay.
Well, no, but check this out. So
Well, no, but
you
check
know how
this out.
you know how when you you read about things and you hear about people's experiences, and at some point you hear enough about it to go, okay, so that must be true.
No.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
have
Yeah.
evidence of it.
Bullshit. Come on. I'm talking. Okay. Take a look at this. Skydivers. Read about it. If you ask people that have been skydiving, they'll tell you that at a certain point in their fall, they no longer feel like they're moving. And yet, at that point, they're moving faster than they can ever move on this planet. So,
I've never heard anyone say that they didn't feel like they were moving. I'm pretty sure people who are skydiving are well aware that they're moving.
until they reach
Right.
terminal velocity, and then it no longer feels like they're actually moving.
And then it feels like they're just laying in bed. That's what
It
you're
feels
saying?
like it's a windy day, and they're standing there just
Yeah, I
laying
don't
there.
think so, dude. I don't think so.
Come
You
on, man.
still
So
feel
when
the
when they
wind.
reach
Right, I'm
when they
making
reach
this up. I'm
terminal
totally making this
velocity,
up out of nowhere. Sure, you guys. I'm telling you that this is an anecdotal thing I've read about and talked to people about. Yes, terminal
I mean-
velocity feels like your motion.
Well, I would agree that.
Oh, wait,
I would
wait.
agree, no, wait. I agree that the feeling of
wind, there's air.
acceleration. Yeah, there's a
You-
feeling associated with acceleration. That's true.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, but still the air around you is almost stationary, and you fall through it at a certain speed, so you feel it all the time.
Up
The
until you
air
reach a point
is
where you're no longer
stationary.
accelerating. You see, that's the difference. Once you're no longer accelerating, you don't feel motion.
but you
Well,
still
I
don't
would
still
feel
feel
the
the
air.
wind.
Wait. So you're telling me that once the skydiver has reached terminal velocity and they can't go any faster, all of a sudden they don't feel like they're moving?
That's
They're
correct.
not still falling?
No,
They don't
I
feel
would-
they don't feel the air rushing past them? That all just stops?
Yeah,
I'm sure
but
they
you-
still feel like they're moving. They just don't feel like they're accelerating.
Have you ever been standing still and had a windy day blowing across you? What's the difference? It's not hard to believe that you can stand in one place, like in a parking lot on a very windy day, and feel wind whipping past you, but not feel like you're moving. Once you reach terminal velocity,
But you're
what
not
happens is there's
moving.
no longer any.
But you're
Doesn't
not
matter.
moving.
Once you reach terminal velocity, your acceleration is no longer happening. Once you reach a speed that is constant, you will not
Yeah,
feel like
so you're not
actually moving.
accelerating anymore. You're not accelerating anymore, but you're still
Right.
moving.
But you don't feel it.
How do you have you ever done this personally?
Do I have to? Can I at least believe some people? Can I believe people? Is that okay? Why don't you guys?
I don't know. I've spoken to a bunch of people that have skydived, and I've never heard that before, ever.
Well, you probably never specifically asked it either.
All right.
No,
If people on the ground look like
Next time you
skydivers
do it,
with
ask
their
them, did it
hair
feel like
and
at one
face
point they
looking
stopped
like
moving?
it was gonna peel off,
I will,
then I'd believe you.
because that's very interesting.
But on the ground, we don't look like skydivers that look like their skin is about to peel off their face. We just look fine. Yet Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour.
You might look fine. Have you seen me? Ha ha ha. No,
Yeah,
you
I
don't.
see
You,
you look like you want to sign up for that stupid Trump Jedi shit.
yeah. Only if Darth Vader's teaching lightsaber classes. Anyway, yeah, no.
Anyway, I was just wanting to say that, I'm not trying to say that I know with certainty what the ISS thing that you can see, the flying thing, the thing that you can watch the flyover is. I was just throwing out some other possibilities because I don't think it's what they say it is. And I have seen the thing fly over.
Are they
according
saying
to
that it's the ISS?
What?
Is that image of the moon with the TIE fighter? Is that supposed to be the ISS?
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't really talking
Yes.
about that when I brought these things up, though. I was talking about what I've seen, which is not the transit, but just the normal flyover.
Mm.
The thing, which I've seen with my own eyes.
And it looked really bright. Right.
It looks like
You
a
actually
bright
saw
star.
the ISS with your eyes?
Well, I saw what they say is the ISS, but it just looked like a bright light flying overhead.
I've been meaning to try that, but I got a lot of trees where I live, so it makes it really fucking hard to see shit sometimes, and that pisses me off.
Yeah.
Well,
You
it's
have
really
to look.
If you can find a clearing, it's really easy to see it.
You
I wish
have
I
to
could.
look
It's
when it flies over
really
your
hard.
head.
I guess I could go out to the valley. There's really not a lot of trees out there.
Well, you probably don't want to be in a valley. You want to be in a high point.
Yeah, but in Washington State, dude, there's no place that doesn't have a billion trees in every fucking direction.
Well,
Sorry
climb
for
up a
swearing,
mountain
but
and
that's
then
just my opinion.
climb up a mountain and climb to the top of a tree.
Climb up a mountain. Yeah, just like that. Sure.
Or go out on a boat. You got lots of ocean and water out there, right?
That
You have
is
a lake.
true, we do. I just don't have a boat. Yeah.
Go out in the middle of a fucking lake. Rent a canoe. Get a little fucking inflatable paddle boat.
What is it with you and
Paddle
all
out in
this?
the middle of a lake. What?
What is it with you and all of this activity? Climb, row? No, dude. No.
I'm just trying to like get some extracurricular activity in your life, man. Maybe you can get in shape, you know?
Yeah, I should. You're probably right.
Damn.
Where do you even live?
Get your heart rate up.
I need to. You're right. You got me. You caught me. Busted. Guilty as charged.
Well, I would, I don't know. I'm just saying, I could see this thing in the middle of a downtown of a big city, so it's not that hard to see if you can find a clearing of some kind. And I think that there's clearings. Like, go to a parking lot of a shopping mall. You'll be able to see it there, no problem.
Even with all the lights.
Yeah, I live in the downtown of a major city, and there's no problem to see it. It's very bright. It's like something like magnitude 3 or something like that.
Okay.
Do you
I'll
live in
try
the
it.
jungle?
I'll try
What's
it. I'd
that?
like to see that thing.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
I recommend that everybody see it, because to me, like,
Let's talk about
it's one
that
of
for a
these things
second,
that
though.
I had a hard time believing I would see anything, and then I went, and sure enough, there is a light. And the thing is, for me, is what I was talking about these artificial guide stars and stuff, is that, I don't think that it's an orbiting spacecraft that I saw, but the thing does still require some kind of explanation in the end. So I was just
What about there's
speculating on other possibilities of what it could be, and there does seem to be like a whole huge body of literature and research about these artificial guide stars, which is like they can create a plasma by shooting lasers and masers like high up into the atmosphere, and that you can create like, and I don't know, apparently there's people who claim that this is what UFO sightings are like, that this is the nature of what people see when they've seen UFOs, is the military like testing this technology of creating images in the atmosphere and creating lights in the atmosphere using and I don't know, if you read these papers, it does, like, I'm not saying that this is like necessarily a fact, but it does seem plausible what they're saying, because
Do you believe in fusion? Because they mention it in this
I
article.
believe in confusion.
what do you mean? Where do they mention fusion in this article?
Page 18, pretty much where the 15 is. Go on page 18, and then you can see like plasma fusion center.
Well, I don't think that there's no page 18 in this paper that I can see. Okay, it starts.
The paper you sent me.
Yeah, but what's the page number? Because I don't have that.
18.
Okay, well, it's
Oh,
to me.
62 on the paper itself, but it's at 18th page.
Okay,
On that shows me up there, right? On the SPDF.
Well, I don't think they're talking about nuclear fusion, because that has nothing to do with what they're claiming in this thing. They're not claiming to do, they're not claiming to be doing nuclear anything. It's just about, like, I don't know. I think that it's pretty much like, I think you could verify to yourself that plasma exists, and that plasma can be.
You can see the microwave if you do something wrong.
Yes, exactly. And that you can turn a gas into a plasma with enough intensity of light or lasers or whatever.
How much does it cost to do that? What's the cost of something like that?
I'm sure it's very expensive. I have no idea. I mean, these are.
So do you think they would waste the money fooling people?
And me? I think it would be much cheaper than creating the International Space Station as is claimed. I think it would be expensive initially to create
It's international, right? So didn't several agencies have a hand in doing that?
Sorry?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's an international space station, so wouldn't have several agencies have been involved in that? Several governments?
Presumably, and I think that if this alternative explanation were true, it would be the same.
All the governments would get together and fool people?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's if we talk about Occam's razor, which comes up a lot, that's probably less likely.
Occam's razor is, you cannot argue from Occam's razor, because Occam's razor assumes you know the entire situation and all the variables already. So
But all
it's
it
not
really
a valid
boils
argument.
down
You
to
can't,
is what-
you can't,
what's-
you
whatever
can't claim
simpler
that
is.
something is not true based on Occam's razor, because
No, I'm not
especially
saying
when it
that
comes to
either one of those
human
things is
social
true based on
problems,
that.
when it comes to human societal problems, the simplest
Wow,
answer is
you
not
really
always
hate
correct.
Occam's razor, don't you?
No, I'm just saying it. Yeah, I
You're
do kind
going
of
way,
hate it.
you're
do
going
kind
way
of
too
hate
deep
it,
into
actually,
the explanation of it, though, because the point of saying it isn't to say let's peel the onion. It's just to say that the simpler of the explanations is probably more
But
likely.
you don't know that it's the simpler of the explanations. You're assuming
That people got together and built a space station? That seems more likely to me than they got together and said, hey, let's blow up some part of the sky and make people think there's a space station.
Why does that seem more or less likely that they would build a relay system of atmospheric lasers?
Because people like building shit.
Oh, okay. So that's your Occam's razor? Well, that's not really Occam's razor anymore, so it's kind of stupid what you're saying, actually.
But Nami,
Come on,
wouldn't you
don't insult me. Don't
wouldn't
insult
you
me.
see
I
the
didn't insult you.
lasers?
Sorry, I've said stupid things. We all say stupid things. I'm just pointing out that what you're
I don't
currently
say stupid things.
kind of dumb.
Nami,
What?
wouldn't you see the laser passing through the atmosphere?
No,
Why?
because you don't see lasers until they hit something, and plus the
Yeah,
the lasers that they're claiming to use are not in the visible range.
Ah, okay, perfect.
Yeah, you can't see a laser unless maybe some dust hits it or whatever. That's why they use them for security.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know. I mean, I haven't, like, I don't know. I read different things. Like, there's this French researcher who wrote this book about UFOs. Like, he did it was like a serious study into the phenomenon. Like, people have definitely seen UFOs. Let's just put it that way. But that just means an unidentified flying object,
Right,
not
they
like
didn't
to
know
say
what
that
it was.
it's extraterrestrial. And so this guy came to the conclusion, based on a whole bunch of his research, or not the conclusion, but the kind of tentative conclusion, that it seemed that the most likely explanation for the UFO sightings that people have had is this military technology that is documented a lot, and this technology that has been used to create these plasma balls in the upper atmosphere using lasers. But that's what he said. He thought, like, all things considered, that seems to be the most likely possibility to explain UFOs with the timeline and everything. And it's like, if they kept developing that kind of method, from what I saw, based on what I saw in the sky when I looked at the ISS tracker, and then I've seen it multiple times, this thing flying overhead, it looks like a star. It very much matches the description of what is being proposed in these papers about an artificial guide star, and it is very much in line with what this researcher thought was the case in terms of explaining the UFO phenomenon. So I'm just saying, I'm not even attached to this explanation. I'm just saying it seems like a
You're just
reasonable
offering it as an
possibility.
alternative.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I don't think that there's a fucking tin can orbiting the fucking non-existent globe.
I still think it's more likely.
I want to ask you a question about it, though.
Have colluded to create the ISS, and there's a bunch of variables that have led up to this. Can you walk us through those variables that have led us up to this?
So I don't know what you mean. Sorry, I missed
the variables of why governments would collude and get to the point where
Like,
they
what's in it for them?
an ISS.
Money, lots of it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's
Like,
too
how
broad.
far back do you think it goes?
Oh, I think it goes back centuries.
Right.
But I don't know. That's too much to get. I don't want to. I don't want to just talk straight for an hour straight. So
I have a
Well, that's
question
kinda
for you,
what
though.
do, right?
If you
That's
can-
all right.
If you can go ahead and get a telescope though and zoom in on that ISS next time and see that it's not a plasma, a light, right? You can actually see something physical. What are you going to think then?
I've seen it. That's what I'm saying.
Like through a telescope?
No, you can see it with the naked eye.
No, I know. And when you see it with the naked eye, obviously no details. You only see the light that is reflected off of it. But if you were to zoom in on it and see a physical object, would you change your mind about plasma?
No,
Not
because
necessarily
there's
physical.
a good possibility that they could create the illusion of a physical object using plasma.
That's a problem because here in this article I see it happens when those two lasers cross each other, right? So how many lasers do you need to make a shape like the ISS?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm
And
just
is it
saying
even
that
possible geometrically?
this is
From-
one paper, and it's kind of a starting
Yes.
point, right? Because
Shape of it makes it
others-
very possible.
this technology has been investigated for like 50 or 60 years, right? And if they have if the possibility of creating the image of the ISS has been realized, it's probably being kept secret. So all we really have are clues and things that kind of point toward
I don't
what
agree with you at all, but I totally understand what you're saying. That you're just offering a separate explanation that makes sense to you, and that it could be possible. That's all you're really saying.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the case. I'm just saying this is one avenue of possibility. That it seems like there's reason to believe that it's possible to create a moving, like plasmatic image in the atmosphere. Like, it kind of makes sense when you read what they're saying about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think geometrically it's impossible. Maybe I'm wrong, but to make a certain shape with this technique from the ground, only
Well-
from the ground, it's, for me, I think it's impossible. But yeah,
I don't think
It
so.
is-
With computers these days, I think it's possible.
I
yeah,
think
but
it would
you
be
only
very
have one
clear-
direction
No,
with the
look,
laser. It's
dude.
not like they
It's light hitting.
stop.
It's light hitting matter, and yeah, how they control the light, yeah, that can be very sophisticated. As
Yeah.
we know, we're riding on it with the internet.
Yeah.
It's all glass scale. It's all a bunch of laser pulses. That's making this super complex thing for us possible. So yeah, a laser can definitely do a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, but you can't stop a laser until it hits something. And with
Yeah, it
those
is
light
hitting
fiber
something.
cables,
But that's the whole point. It is supposed.
yeah, but you can't control it. You can't control the thing that hits.
Yeah, you
That
can.
it hits when it's in the atmosphere.
No,
Yeah,
they're
but at some point, apparently, it is gonna hit a certain type of
Yeah,
material
the sodium
to
layer.
which
Yeah.
it starts to function. So yeah, there is something out there that makes that possible.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
what
but
I
they
think
do.
this is purely
And
science fiction.
As
I
soon
mean,
as it hits something, then the light,
No, but
though
listen to
it
what
might
Zinder
pass
is saying,
through
though.
slightly, will be absorbed.
this is complete
Zen-
science fiction. I think. Yeah.
No,
guys
no,
are
this is
talking
how
about-
light is absorbed.
Oh
by
my
light.
god.
There's
But hold
like
on a
there's a
second.
ton of papers about this that come from like respectable articles or respectable magazines, which I'm just saying from your perspective, that seems like, so you think that this is all just, they're just lying about the sodium layer guide stars? Like,
No, I don't think so. I think this paper has nothing to do with the ISS.
no, I'm just
And
saying
you
that
can say, how are they gonna get
I'm
that
saying
light?
you
How are they
provide-
gonna get that laser to hit something moving and be in that like a perfect line like that? You know what I'm saying? Like a predictable pattern.
Well,
That-
if there's
if
a
it's
layer,
hitting
it can
something,
just
This
move
article-
that's probably
across it.
unlikely.
It can
If you
just
read this
move
article-
across the layer, just like a projection or a flashlight onto
So if there's
a
a
film.
layer of dust or some sort of obstructing object, then yeah. But
No, they're
you're
not
talking
claiming
about
it's dust or obstructing object. What they're claiming is that there's a certain composition of the atmosphere where when certain frequencies of
Yeah.
laser hit
I can
it,
show you
that it
guys
heats-
this
that-
one.
Wait, can I just finish my sentence? That
Yeah.
it creates a plasma, which a plasma is just a superheated gas that
And-
wherein that it becomes electrically conductive. Right?
Yeah.
But then you have to
Picture.
realize that there's not a consistency to that layer. There's going to be different levels of it. So the
Well,
light will
according
probably
to these
flicker and
papers,
sometimes probably even not even be visible for a second.
No, according to these papers, there is a consistent layer that's 10 kilometers thick around the whole Earth. where this.
No, there's going to be spots where there's less and spots where there's more.
Well, that's
just
not what it
natural.
says in these papers. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe that's true, but according to the papers that I'm looking at, that you read this paper, it goes into that in detail and says that this is a very consistent layer around the entire atmosphere. It's 10 to 15 kilometers thick.
No, I would agree with you.
Don't argue with me. Argue with the paper, because I'm just.
I understand. I mean, I would agree with you if the ISS would only be like a bright light, but as I see the shape of the ISS by those transits,
That's.
I have to disagree with you, because you can't make the light just stop going in one direction if
and
you
also
don't.
the paper.
Oh really?
The paper gives it a range of
Can
10
you-
to 15 kilometers thick.
Have you
What?
ever looked at your basic pocket calculator, how that screen works? That's exactly what it does.
Yeah,
Crystal
because
is being influenced by electricity, causing it to suddenly become no longer transparent.
Yeah, but you
So,
know what?
yeah,
This
that stuff we
paper
can
literally
do.
says that layer is not consistent. It says it's plus or minus 10 kilometers. So it's not a consistent.
No, it doesn't say that.
It says it right here. The sodium layer lies at an altitude of approximately 90 kilometers. The layer thickness is generally between 10 and 15 kilometers.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
that's not consistent. That's close.
No, but
it's
it
not
doesn't.
consistent.
I know it's a consistent layer. It's just its thickness is consistent.
And as the thickness changes, you're going to get different levels of light.
Well, that's not what it says in the paper.
Why would you not? How would that be possible? You're talking
I
about a
don't
certain
know. Read
amount.
the fucking paper. I'm not an expert on it.
I know, but we can all at least agree that if you're reflecting a laser off of a little bit of dust or a lot of dust, you're going to see a brighter
It's not
laser.
dust,
Why
dude.
don't you read
That's
the
not my
paper?
point. I'm not calling it dust. I'm just telling you that if you have enough
called it
particulate matter.
dust. No, you just
No, I
called
didn't
it
call the layer
dust. And because
Let me finish. I let
the
you
problem
finish.
is you
right?
don't understand what they're
No,
talking
I
about. It's
don't.
like
I
they're-
don't understand that, but
they're
here's what I do
creating-
understand. We're talking about a medium of some sort that the laser is reflecting off of somehow or activating.
No,
it's
it's
creating.
being absorbed.
It's
and
heating it
changing
into
it.
a plasma.
Okay, like I said, reacting somehow to create the visual light that you see. It's not just going nowhere.
right.
It's something is blocking it and reflecting it back to your
Like a
line of sight.
chemical
It's
reaction.
not reflecting it.
as
No.
you add more
Listen, you're
into
using
a
the wrong.
laser-
No, wait. You're using
as
the
you-
wrong terminology over and over again. It's not claiming to be reflecting it. It's claiming to be
I don't
creating
care.
a
I don't care
luminous.
what your terminology is. I'm just
Well,
trying
the
to.
It's
terminology
like
is
a chemical
important.
reaction, not a reflection of light.
I mean, this talks about satellites. This paper. I mean, for one thing. I mean, why do you trust this paper? It's
I don't try. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I necessarily trust this paper. I'm saying this is one possible
yeah.
beginning
Yeah, I
of
understand.
an explanation for what you can see. And when I brought this up, I just wanted to clarify. When I brought this up, I wasn't trying to explain those transits. I was trying to explain what I personally saw. I have not personally seen the transit. I would like to try to see the transit to see if it's really there. I mean, I think there probably is something to see, but I'm just talking about what I personally saw about the overfly of the ISS. I've seen it like 10 or 15 times by looking at the tracking app.
How high up is it?
You can't tell how high up it is by looking at it.
Yeah, I know. Redtrick did a thing where he triangulated it or some shit, but I don't know how he actually knows, because it's amazing that we can even see something, because it's miles high, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw something. All I can say is that when you look at according to their tracking software, they say look at this angle at this exact particular time. Every time that I've done that, I've seen exactly what they say is supposed to appear. Like a really fast-moving light. It looks like a star. Goes across the sky faster than anything I've ever seen. Much faster than any airplane or anything that I've ever seen before. So it's a very unique thing. I've never seen anything like it. And it always went according to the schedule given by the ISS website. So
Dan brings up a pretty good point, though. I mean, it's not that you know how high that thing is, but if you could somehow verify that it's about 90 kilometers, according to that paper, you'd have a pretty good case for the plasma thing.
Well, how would you verify that?
I wouldn't know, but I'm just saying if you could.
But you can't the only way to verify how high something is that you'd have to know its size. right? So you'd have to base you have to base it on its angular. Like if you know its actual size, then you could base the distance on its angular size from where you are. But
Again, if
if
you're
you
right
don't know,
about
if you don't have all that information, then you can't tell, right? And
you
also
could probably
that,
recreate that. Oh, but here's the thing. You
But
could
it's not
recreate
a-
that with your plasma laser, probably. But if you had several people from different points of the Earth looking at it, then you would have a problem, I think.
yeah, but you could have a relay system where there's different, people are actually seeing different, like the thing is being generated by different projectors from different locations.
Like maybe every planetarium has one.
But yeah, there'd be very easy for them to hide them in military bases or government buildings and things because it's not, it's once it's set up, it's just like a motorized like laser system. It's not huge.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be like a laser light show at a concert, how they all
Yeah.
look and sing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But this whole thing of plasma is kind of we're sort of poorly understood, right? But the other thing is that you can create an opaque shape using plasma. Like for instance, you can like flame can make a shadow. Like you can have if you shine a light on a candle flame, if the light is brighter than the candle flame, you'll see a shadow of the candle flame.
Yeah, it'll turn white or black or something like that. Yeah.
So the plasma can reflect light back off its surface, right? So you could have something potentially, and then it all comes down to like it's dependent on the frequencies and on the frequency of the laser and on the particularly luminous qualities of the materials that are generating the plasma. So there's a lot of variables, and like I think that this could very well be like a kind of secret research that's been going on. And well, they actually talk about, like, this is just one paper, but I've read a few papers about this, and they talk about how the military there's a whole branch of studies in this domain that have been conducted by the military, and they don't really specify for what reason.
Someone should just track the path of the ISS and then check if there's any military bases underneath the route that it takes.
Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be at a military base. It's just like, it could just be just government buildings or observatories. I don't know. Who knows? They could easily hide these things almost anywhere.
Yeah, like under the ocean.
Because how think about how many people would have to be involved in that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
It goes over the ocean, doesn't it, as well?
Astronomy
Forgot about
Society.
that.
Yeah, let's hide it under the ocean. It's great. Like under the Pacific, middle of the Pacific.
obviously you can't do it under the ocean. But look, right at the beginning of this paper, although military applications initially stimulated the development of synthetic beacon technology, current interest in synthetic beacons has expanded to include the astronomical community. So they don't really explain what the military applications were, but obviously they're going to be different than astronomy, right? So I'm just saying, I'm not attached to this. I'm not claiming this is fact.
It's just a theory, isn't it?
I'm just saying it's interesting, but like,
Yeah, that's interesting.
because I
It'd be a
did
fun thing. Yeah, it's a fun little conspiracy. Sure.
well, no, I did see
Impossible.
something. I did see something, and it does need an explanation. What I saw to me, I don't see how that could have possibly been.
You mean
orbiting-
it has an explanation? It just needs one that you can latch on.
Well,
to.
it needs one that fits all the evidence, and so the ISS, that the idea of an international orbiting space station only fits some of the evidence, not all of it. To me, this explanation fits more of the evidence than that, because
How does
the
the
Earth is
ISS not? What part of the ISS doesn't fit your evidence?
well, the orbiting part, since we're not on an orb.
Because you don't think we're on a ball.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just surprised that we can actually see it with our naked eye.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to. That's the thing. If it was really as described, there would be no way you could possibly see it with the naked eye because it's the size of a 747. So that's, to me, as soon as I saw it, I was like, there's no way that's a 747 size object 1,250,000 feet up, because
Yeah, but it actually
You wouldn't
does
be able to
depend on
see
how
it.
much light is reflecting off of it.
what?
It really does depend on how much light is actually bouncing
No, it
off.
doesn't. The only way you can see anything is from light reflecting off of it.
Right? Isn't that what I just said?
Guys, I'm gonna
I
go
know.
now. See you later.
Okay, yeah.
Mm.
But like a 747, for instance, like if you look at a 747 at 40,000 feet, you can barely see it on a clear day. It's so small.
Yeah, but you're also
literally
talking
at the
about
limit of what you
refraction
can
of light as it hits the atmosphere, and it scatters a bit. So the direct
Okay, but you're going to have the same problem with the ISS because it has to go through the atmosphere. But I'm saying that how would you possibly see it when it's, I don't know, 30 times as far away? Or no, yeah, something like 30 times further away in the same size. How are you going to see it? It looks way bigger than a
It gets more light. That's what I'm saying than it would in the atmosphere.
Why would it reflect more light? It's
Because
similar.
there's nothing stopping the light between. It's not scattering. It's going right from the sun to the thing. It's like anything else that has a lot of reflective surface.
No, there's still an atmosphere.
How much atmosphere? It's very thin up there.
Yeah,
If
it
you
has
don't
to
get
go
the
through.
same scatter
Yeah, but
as you
why
do
would
in
it
our
appear larger than a 747 at 40,000 feet?
lensing?
What lens? There's no lensing.
Why not?
I don't know. Can you show me any evidence that there's lensing?
No, I don't even actually know enough about this thing, but I do know that.
That's what I'm saying. I do know enough about this thing to tell you that there's something at 1,250,000 feet shouldn't look bigger than something at 40,000 feet of similar size. It doesn't make sense. So when I saw the ISS,
so that actually, you know what? We could probably look at that and find some evidence to show you that that's not true.
Okay, well, please try to do that, and we'll talk about it then. Because see how you're just like, well, I already know that's not true before I've even looked into it. Well, the thing is, dude, I've looked into this stuff, and I know what I'm talking about.
So you got to tell me that you looked into seeing how things change size because of their distance or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And how much light is reflecting off of them and all that. Plus, you're factoring in how much atmosphere is between the sun and the plane and you versus the space station or the moon or whatever.
There's going to be more atmosphere between you and the space station than between you and the 747.
Not in terms of density.
Okay, something at 40,000 feet is going to have most of the atmosphere is under that. I'll give you that. But something at 1,250,000 feet is obviously going to be more atmosphere because you're higher up. There's more space between you and it.
It's just that I'm not arguing these facts with you. The thing is that
you are arguing these facts with me. You're
I'm not arguing
wrong,
these facts.
and now you don't want to. Now you want to say you're not arguing the facts
because you're simply offering. Why are you getting caught up on that part? Listen to what I have to say. God damn it! I'm not mad. I'm just swearing for fun.
Go ahead.
Okay. What was I thinking about that? Oh, the human eye. You flat earthers like to talk about distances and. Hold on, man. I'm getting this talk back on my speaker. I'm turning myself down a bit. I guess I could talk about line of sight, like how you can't see things after a certain point of view. But think about how we view space. I mean, you can see stars billions of miles away giving off a certain amount of light.
Well, that's an assumption of yours, but I don't agree that they're billions of miles away. How do you know they're billions of miles away? Excuse me, how do you know they're billions of miles away?
That's what we're told, right?
Oh, okay. So that's what we're told. Well, I don't agree with that. So
they can tell.
They can't tell. There's no way to verify it. There's no way to know.
They're not accurate, but they're closer than you are. I mean, you're not.
How do you know? Why do you? That's argument from authority. You're assuming that they're more accurate than I am.
Okay, I'm a musician, right? So I can tell you how music works and how the scale works and what a step is and what 12 semitones are.
Yeah, but I also know about that stuff, and I can verify that for myself. And that's a completely different thing because we're not talking about.
Because I have a point to make on that. I have some expertise in this particular area.
Oh, okay. So you're just basically your whole argument is there's no arguing with the experts allowed. You have to just go with what the experts say, no matter what. Okay, great. End of debate then. Why are you here?
You question your doctor?
Yes, definitely.
Why?
Because do you think? Because doctors don't always get it right, my dude.
Yeah, but do you think they get it right more than they get it wrong?
That's why
it depends on it depends on the case, and it's not a good comparison. Because
it is a good comparison because they go to school for this and they learn about this stuff.
No,
dude. If you don't if you really believe that, then stop going to a doctor when you get sick or break a bone. Instead, go to somebody else that you trust more because they're not a
That's
PhD.
why
They
when
just
you
might
go
know
get
more than a doctor
surgery,
does because they agree with you.
Okay, argument from authority. It's a fallacy. You don't know what
It's
you're
not
talking about.
authority. Hey, if you're
No,
studying something,
no. It seems like what ended up
you
happening
act
is
like these astronomers went to school and emerged out of school in 3 days with a couple of things on their belt. You don't think they actually
okay, so that makes
tested
it.
any of this
So
stuff
that means
and
that they
learned
can
about
prove.
this stuff?
No, but yet you can't explain how they can prove that the stars are billions of
I'm
miles
not
away.
a fucking astronomer.
Well, they can't explain it either.
Yes, they can.
No, they can't.
They
can
have
explain.
to in
They
order
can
to
tell
tell
me
you how they got there. They love
Yeah.
to fucking tell you how they got
I'm
there.
aware of it, though. I've looked into it. They make an estimate based on a bunch of assumptions, unproven
Right,
assumptions.
and what are those assumptions on? You make it sound like they're just assuming things one day after they woke up on a Sunday with an
That
idea.
actually is how it is. That's how it's
It's not that. It is not that simplistic. Stop oversimplifying it.
Oh, yes, it is. They make assumptions.
No, it's
There's a
based
whole
on
bunch of
assumptions that
unproven
it's based on
assumptions.
assumptions that they've already proven before at a smaller
No,
scale.
it isn't. How would
Yes,
they have
it is.
proved it? How would
Why
they have
would you?
possibly
Why would
proved
you
it?
go out and tell somebody that you could measure something far away, willy fucking nilly, without some sort of backing evidence, and say I did it here on a smaller scale and it proved to be okay? So we're just bringing it to a larger scale. Why would you do that?
What?
It doesn't make any sense. If I'm trying to tell you how far away something is by measuring it a certain way, and I've never done anything before that. All I did was woke up one day and said, hey, I can tell you how far that star is because I bounced a fucking rubber ball off my garage and it took this long to do something. That's stupid sounding, I know, but that's what you're basically saying they did. When I'm telling you, they can
That's not
say,
what I'm
all right,
saying they
we're
did.
going
I'm
to
saying
test
they
my
just made a
theory.
bunch
I think
of.
I can
No,
tell
that's
how
not
far
what
it
I'm
is.
saying they did.
And what I'm going to go ahead and
Fucking
do is
misquoting
I'm
me.
just going to tell people that, and I'm not going to test it on a smaller scale so that I can see if I'm correct first.
Yeah, well, they haven't done that actually. You need to look into it before you come to this argument.
No, I'm not going to buy what you're saying because I don't. That's not how people do
All right,
things.
don't buy what I'm saying, but you don't even know what you're saying because you haven't
Nobody
looked into
walks
it.
into something and say we can think something is this far away without having
Yeah,
some
they
way of
actually
testing
they
their
do that.
theory.
If you look
No,
into
they don't.
astronomy, you're going to
No.
find that's the case. The problem is you haven't looked into it, so you don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
actually, I have, and I also know that people don't put that stuff
Oh,
on
well, then
paper
how
and
come
say
you can't explain it then if you've looked into it?
because I can't explain the database shit that I've been doing, and I've been learning that every
No,
day
but
for
you
the
don't even
last 2
know.
weeks.
I don't think you don't even know this first thing about the methods that they've used. They claim to have used that it
But
relies
you
on
know
a
what I
bunch
do
of
know?
things.
I do know something a little bit about life in
But you
general.
haven't
Okay.
researched it, so you're lying about having researched it if you don't know that.
No, I have researched it, but I just didn't.
Okay,
I
but
don't
you didn't
remember.
get to
You
that
want
part.
me to go
Or you
back
just
verbatim with
didn't
my
get to the
fucking
part
memory,
where they
dude? Check
actually
this
explain
out.
how they
You
did
need to stop because I don't care what you think research is. Nobody says I can tell you how far away something is with reasonable accuracy without at least being able to test it and show you how they tested it.
Yeah,
Nobody
but they make
does
a
that.
bunch of it's all formulated on a bunch of assumptions that can't be proven, and also falsified data.
Okay, now you're talking about things that you're just pulling out of your asshole.
No,
with this
I'm not.
stuff.
You can't.
are,
Okay,
though.
you can't measure stellar parallax.
You can't.
No, you can't. I can't, and you can't. Only people with fucking space telescopes or the people who run these fucking multi-million-dollar astronomical observatories can make these ultra-minute calculations. So it's not something you or I can verify. We have to just take their word for it. But they
But
haven't
if they
falsified the
invited us
data.
to the lab and showed us how, I bet we
entirety
could.
of it, that all these astronomical organizations have been controlled by a very small group of people, mostly the Catholic Church, prior to the 20th century, and now by the space agencies. So if you're willing to trust those exclusive little cadre of organizations that they've done all this perfectly honestly, then fine. You can go with that, and it still wouldn't prove it. It would just be a little bit better than it is. But in actual fact, I don't believe there's any stellar parallax at all, because there's no possible way for any normal person to observe any of it.
So, what does that have to do with it being right or wrong?
Well, it has nothing to do with it being right or wrong. It has to do with it being verifiable, testable, and that you're just taking someone's word for it. So it's a belief that you have. It's a trust and faith that you place in certain organizations and certain authorities that I don't share. It's like I don't place my trust in the church or the government. You do. Good for you. That's not proof of anything. Yes, you do.
I don't like the God. I don't believe in God or God.
No, but you trust that they've measured stellar parallax.
Yeah, I trust that people with actual scientific knowledge and understanding can tell me something, and I believe it, and that's
What do you mean
okay because
actual
I also
scientific
believe.
knowledge?
I
It's
also
not
believe that a
knowledge we're
mechanic.
talking about.
I
It's
also believe that a mechanic can replace something in my car without having to do 60
yeah,
other
well, that's a
things
shit
first.
argument, actually. So
I don't care. You're not. It's oversimplification, but it's not a shit argument. It's what you call oversimplification, and I'm aware of it. But if we're
it's not an
talking about
oversimplification.
it is
You have faith
oversimplification.
that these people have done these measurements honestly, and that
Just like I have
furthermore that
faith
these
that a guy went
measurements
to
are
school and knows how to fix his
absolutely
fucking car, and when he tells me my water pump is a problem,
yeah,
and
but
he
that's not
fixes
the
it, and
same
that
kind of
solves the
thing because
problem
we
without
can
trying to
prove that
fix
for
6 other things first.
ourselves.
That tells me that he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Therefore, I
Yeah, well,
doubt people
an
are going into
astronomer can't
a
fix
job
shit.
as an astronomer
Yeah,
or
but guess what?
astrologer or
An
whatever.
astronomer can't fix anything. All they can do is
That's
make
not the
observations.
point. They learn
That is the
something
point.
and they
That's your
test these
analogy.
things and they arrive at these assumptions having already done a test on a smaller scale so that these assumptions are not just being pulled out of their fucking ass like you seem to think they are.
Okay, I think they are. So you can't prove they're not.
Well, why would anybody? Oh my God, you really think that people go to the mat with that kind of attitude toward their crap?
Go to the what?
The mat,
The
like
mat?
take it to the street. Yeah, it's a saying, it's a phrase. Like you're taking that into battle. You're going forward with this and saying this is the truth. Taking it to mat.
I've never heard that phrase before, but okay.
It's just it's an illustration to say you think that people bring forth things as knowledge without any real kind of data behind it or any way to show how they got there.
Yeah,
They're
of
just
course
guessing.
they do.
Yeah,
Of course
they're
they
just
do. You think
guessing,
that there's
and it's
there's
purely
no
a
government
guess.
deceptions? What
You're
do you think
basically
9/11? You think the
saying,
9/11 was?
saying that
You
I can
believe
come
the
out
9/11
with something and
report?
say, I know how far away the stars are just because my name is Shane Rushton, and God damn it, I'm smart.
No, that they have exclusive. That they claim to have the exclusive. Exclusive access to the means of making extraordinarily minute and subtle measurements that can't be repeated by anybody else.
That's ridiculous. It can be repeated if you just go do it.
No, you can't do it.
You can't, huh? Not because we don't have the money to go do the instruments. If we had the instruments, we could do it.
Well, okay, but you don't have the money and you don't have the instruments.
No,
so,
I don't. But I gather that.
So instead, you have
time,
faith and trust in these people who could be.
Because I don't think that people go and just say, "Hey, look, we're going to tell a billion people that there's stars billions of miles."
You don't think the government ever lies about? You don't think the government's ever lied about anything?
Oh my God! But I do think that they could.
But you think that people in those positions wouldn't lie to a million?
I'm not going to answer that stupid ass question because you damn well know everybody knows they do. So don't ask that. Stupid
Okay, well then, how's that any different? So people will lie to a million.
Different. Yeah, no, it isn't because if they're trying to get money.
But you think people would lie to a million or a billion people? That's just ridiculous.
You're talking about an entire globe of people.
I'm not talking about a globe of people. That's the difference.
In cahoots. No, it'd have to be because it's not just Americans.
Well, I don't believe that in the globe.
I don't care what you're going to call it, all right? We're just using, I'm using that general term because I know you think it's not a fuck. I don't care. I don't care about the shape of the earth, honestly.
Yeah, I know you don't care. You just put your faith and your trust in these organizations, and that's good enough for you. Good.
That's incorrect. That's a silly statement too, because I can look outside and see.
You just said an entire group of people would lie to us.
I can look outside. I can look out fucking side and say, well, the shit they keep telling me that you think I just trust makes sense because it's observable.
Okay, so what makes sense about the idea that the stars are billions of miles away? How do you know that? What makes sense about that from any observation you can personally make? Because that's the object. That's the.
You're not going to like my answer, but they're tiny little dots in the sky. Why wouldn't they be that far away?
Well, that's not any kind of evidence that they are that far away.
Okay. You asked a question. Let's do some assumptions based on things that are not entirely ridiculous. We can see the sun in the sky during the day, and it's rather large as far as the bright lights in the sky. So when you think about how objects get smaller as they get farther away, we can say, since those other objects are just like this one, but they're smaller, they're probably farther away.
They're not just like this one. That's another assumption.
I'm not talking.
You think that the stars and the sun
they're all some sort of fireball, and I know that they're made up of different things.
No, you don't know that there's some sort. I mean, they're not even claiming the sun's a fireball. But okay, what about the moon? How do you know they're not like the moon? The moon's supposedly not a fireball. Aren't the stars more like the moon in their color and their luminousness? Maybe they're all a bunch of little moons.
No.
They're not like the sun is. What
Look,
makes you think that the
you asked
stars
the
are other
question,
suns?
and
You don't know that the stars are
I
other
went ahead
suns.
and oversimplified it for you so that I wouldn't get into the weeds on it. But when I look
Well,
up in the sky and
there's
I
only
see a
weeds
bright
to get
object
into.
in there and I see how large it is, and I know from evidence of just watching anything else get farther away from me that the farther away it is, the smaller it gets. So if I put that in terms of your question, that's how I could believe that stars are far, far away.
Well, they could be far, far away, but they could. But you're assuming that they're really large and really far away, but they could be not as large and closer.
And that's also true, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make sense to think both of those things, one or the other. It doesn't make either one of those
That's
make
not what
less
we're
sense.
arguing. You're arguing that it's a fact that the stars are billions of miles away, and I'm saying you have no evidence to support that idea.
Well, I'm arguing that you're not an astronomer and you're telling me this, whereas astronomers are. So I'm going to side on the people that have the degrees.
Okay, that's fine. You can do that. So your argument is based on one of faith in other people's words.
Other people's putting 4 or more years into studying something, purely that, and that's
Or
not
putting
good.
more. Yeah, that's what you think. Fine.
I mean, what
that's
do you do for a
That's not a
living?
logical argument, and it's not one that you
It's
can
purely,
defend.
it's entirely
It's a belief.
logical. It's
No, it
completely
isn't.
logical.
It's just a belief
Yes,
that you have.
It's illogical to say that you can't believe somebody that has a doctorate in something or a bachelor's or some sort of thing. That's ridiculous.
Okay, so everyone who has a doctorate will never lie. That's what you're arguing now.
It isn't about lying. It's about if all of them agree, then you probably have some sort of evidence to go on.
Well, yeah.
And it's not to be trusted. Do we think they get it wrong sometimes? Yeah, of course they do. They're human. But it's easier to
Yeah,
think
but I'm saying that they could be falsifying some of the data, like the stellar parallax data in particular.
Why? To what end?
To the end of supporting this the cosmological construct that they've been selling to everybody.
What does it matter?
What does it matter?
They could easily do the same thing if the Earth was flat and there was a dome and blah, blah. They could do that too. So why would they choose this thing to lie about?
Yes.
That has nothing to do with trying to explain all the motives has nothing to do with the actual evidence at hand. The point is that you have no evidence that supports the idea of the distance to the stars. And neither does anyone else.
You cannot arrest somebody for murder if there's no motive. You have to have that in order to convict.
No, you don't have to have that's the only thing you don't have to have. You don't have to have a motive to arrest someone for murder. Are you kidding?
Okay, that was wrong. You're right.
That's like the dumbest thing you've said in this entire conversation. And
Okay,
that's exactly, and actually,
I'm not going to do that to you, so you stop that, please.
well, no, because the point is that
how stupid something you say
the point is
It's
that
not gonna
I don't have to have a motive in order to claim that in order to discuss the evidence.
And that's true, but what I meant by that wasn't about convicting. It was about if you're a cop and you're going to look for people who have motives first.
No, you're not. That's not how they do it. They don't look at motives. They look at evidence. You can't know motives. Motives are always just kind of ephemeral and guesswork.
You think that the evidence points at somebody. We're not talking about forensics. That's what they use nowadays. But at some point in history, okay, you know what they did? They looked around to see who had motive to do things.
No, they don't. That's not how investigations are conducted. You just watch too much TV. Okay, you watch too much fucking Perry Mason. That's not how it's done. Look into it.
Sir, you must be a cop.
No, but I do know a few cops.
No,
No, I've looked into investigations, and that I know for a fact they don't base one of the criteria of making an arrest isn't a perception of an idea of motive. It has nothing to do with it.
I didn't say that. I said it first in individual. I told you I was wrong.
You said no first. Yeah, I know, but you're still wrong. That's the thing. You're trying to save your point, but you should just drop it and give it up.
You know everything about everything, don't you?
No, I don't know everything about everything, but I do know that you're wrong about what you're saying.
About what I bring up.
Okay, you're trying to rescue your point that you need a motive to charge someone with murder, which you admitted was wrong.
You know what a motive means, right?
Yeah, I know what a motive means. It's irrelevant to the conversation. That's what I'm saying. Why don't you just drop this point? Because I don't. It's ridiculous.
I'm not going to drop it because you said that the government's, regardless of the motive. I'm saying that motive means everything to the perpetrator. So what is the motive of the government to lie about space when they can easily get
I don't have
anything?
to explain that to examine the evidence. There's no way that we're going to be able to prove what the motive is because we're not going to be able to read their minds. So there's no that argument has no end. You're just what you're trying to say is that what you're trying to assert is that you do know the motive of the government.
What I'm telling you is that if the motive to lie about that is just to lie, they could lie about anything. So why would they pick that to lie about?
No, they could lie about things that we couldn't check on, and that's precisely what they do.
You couldn't check on that being a dome really either, could you?
Okay. This motives argument has nothing to do with the evidence, okay?
I know that it doesn't, but I'm asking you, why would you think the government would lie about this?
Well, I have lots of thoughts about that, and none of them are relevant to the conversation.
But I asked you because I was curious of what you thought.
No, you asked me because you said that I needed to have the motive in order to make any.
You don't tell me that. I tell you why I asked. I didn't ask you for any reason.
How this began was that you said you can't charge someone with murder without a motive. That's how this started.
I did say that, and I was wrong. Well, let's move past that.
So now you're pretending that you said it. Now you're dishonestly pretending that you said it. But now you're dishonestly pretending that you said it for some other reason, which just shows that you're dishonest in your argumentation.
I'm not dishonest in my argumentation. I made a mistake when I said something that was different.
Yeah, I know, but now you're pretending that you asked me for some other reason other than that.
I'm not pretending shit, dude. I fucking asked you because I was curious about your goddamn opinion about why they would lie.
No, you didn't. You said that what you said is that you couldn't charge someone with murder without a motive. That's how it started.
I didn't say that before I asked you the question.
Yeah, you said it along with the question.
I said it after that when you started going off about something else. I was just curious why you think
I guess you could suffice it to say I'm not going to engage you in a conversation regarding motives because there's no point. It doesn't lead anywhere. There's nothing conclusive to be. There's nothing we can conclude from those kind of inferences.
Well, and at the same time, you have no evidence that they lied about that. And them lying about something.
No, but the people who are making the claims, see, now that's a burden of proof shifting. The people making the claims, they're the ones who need the evidence. Because I'm not making claims.
Certainly made a claim that you don't believe the evidence that they present.
Well, I'm skeptical of the evidence they present. I don't need evidence to be skeptical of someone else's claims. They need evidence to support their claims.
And you don't think that the evidence that they provide is the evidence that's good enough for you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And so then that brings me to a question I always like to ask you guys, because I just want to know for real, what is it going to take for you to see something as fact?
Well, being able to see it, test it, and verify it for ourselves. Like I say, I've seen this light. I've seen this supposed ISS light thing flying over the sky. I mean, at some point, I was like, I should go and see if that's really there. I was skeptical that there was anything to see. I went and I saw it, and now I'll honestly say, yes, I saw something there. So there's something there.
Went and tested it, and then you didn't like what you saw. You wanted a different explanation, so you went and found something else that could have been.
Well, I thought what I saw didn't match the evidence of what they're claiming it was, and I don't think that what I saw proves what they're showing when they show astronauts floating on harnesses in a tube, supposedly in orbit.
That's why I ask these questions, because let's say you got. How about this SpaceX thing that's happening? Let's say that guy that purchased all the tickets to take artists up in space. Let's say he chose you, and would you believe it then?
Just if he took me to space and I could see that I was in space, then I would believe it. Yeah.
How would you know that you weren't being CGI'd into that or like tricked somehow?
What do you mean CGI'd into that?
I don't know. Like you were in a chamber somewhere in Utah, and they were just creating that illusion of being in space. How would you not know that? I mean, how would you test it? What would you have to see or do or experience to actually come back to Earth and not say that was a fake experience.
Well, I guess that I would have to just base that on the experience when I had it. I don't know. I mean, how could I say before I've had the experience?
I don't know, because honestly, most of the flat earthers I talk to just have this sort of confirmation bias, and so
yeah. Well, you have a confirmation bias because you're already assuming that it's possible to go to space, right? And I'm saying that the problem with your little analogy there is that hasn't happened yet. I haven't. Nobody's offering for me to go to space. I can't go to space and see. You're saying, what if someone brought you to space? Then would you believe it? Oh, well, then you should, like, as if I should believe it because you can say that. The fact is, I can't go to space and nobody's inviting me to go, so it's really kind of irrelevant.
Had no motive behind it, dude. Just wanted to see if you would actually believe it. That's it.
Well, if I went to space and saw the Earth as a globe, then I'd believe the Earth was a globe. Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
I don't think there's any flat earther that if you took them to space and showed them it was a globe would still be a flat earther.
That's an untrue statement.
That's a what?
It's definitely untrue.
Okay, so you think there's people that if they went up into space and they looked down upon the Earth and they saw it was a globe, that they would still be a flat earther? You think that?
Yep. You know why?
Okay. Well, I think
not every flat
if
earther.
we were able to show you that the Earth was flat, you'd probably still think it was a globe. I could say that about you, right? No matter what, you think it was a globe. If we showed you a flat Earth from space, I think you'd still believe it was a globe no matter what we showed you.
I wouldn't.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Yeah, you would.
I'm telling you, I would.
No, you would because that's how globe earthers are. All globe earthers are the same like that. No, you wouldn't believe it no matter, even if we could show you it was flat from a million miles away, you'd think it was a globe.
Nope.
Obviously.
Nope.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Because we understand the psychology of globers, just like you claim to understand the psychology of globers.
I wouldn't care if the Earth was flat.
Yeah, well, I'm just showing you how retarded you sound, okay? I'm just trying to show you how stupid you sound right now.
No, you know what? You're stupid sounding, because I talk to these fucking people, and I know most of them believe that everything about space is fake, and if you took them up there, that you faked them. That's what they would say. I promise you.
Well, I could say the same thing about you. I think that it's the same.
I wouldn't call those people flat earthers. I would just call them stupid.
No, I would say it's probably true about you. That's the case with you, not with you're projecting actually. That even if we brought you 1 million feet above the Earth, you'd still think it was a globe. Even if we showed you it was flat, because in fact that's already happened. If you look at balloon footage 120,000 feet up, it's flat. You can see it's flat.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? We already have shown it's flat, and you still believe it's a globe. So you're that person.
You haven't shown it's flat.
Real quick, just to back up, Nummy, globers have shown that they lack intellectual honesty.
Yeah, no shit.
There's no question that anybody in this argument has done that.
But I mean, you talk about 99% of humanity or so lacking intellectual. Exactly. I mean, it's kind of strange, this argument, but never mind. Go on.
Nobody has shown the Earth to be flat, so that's incorrect.
Well, look at the balloon footage from 120,000 feet up when they didn't use a fisheye lens, and you'll see it's flat.
No, you'll only see a slight portion of a curve.
Well, you should be able to. The amount that you're seeing, you should be able to see the curve at that altitude, and you can't.
No.
Wait, so you said you could only see a slight portion of the curve, but then we'll have globers tell us we can see the whole curve from a plane. Right.
I never said that.
Not you personally. I'm just saying there are globers that will die saying they can see it from a plane, but yet we don't see it from video at 120,000 feet. So that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, look at my screen. Excuse me. Look at my screen, please. Hold on. Yeah. 108,000 feet. So we've already taken...
What did this guy say? A slight curve? I don't see any curve there.
Right. So I'm saying we've already shown that it's flat, and yet you still. I'm saying we could take you to space. We could go up this high, and you'd see it was flat, and then you'd say, "No, it's a ball." Right.
So if you're looking
So
at this
argument that you're making about flat earthers, that even if you took us to space and showed us it was a ball, that we
Do you
think it
see
was
how-
flat, it's actually the
put that
reverse.
back up. Put that back up with the dotted line.
Mhm.
Thank you.
No.
One side of that is a little lower than the other, by the way.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
How much of the Earth are you seeing right there?
I don't know off the top of my head, but you could
If
find out.
it's flat, shouldn't you see most of the continents, or at least all of one?
Sorry?
I'll check.
I mean, how much are you looking at there?
It's all in on that one.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but according to globe Earth scientists, you should be able to see the curve. You should easily be able to see the curve with your naked eye at this altitude. And in fact,
All I'm saying is that when I look at the middle of that, the middle comes closer on one of those pictures. On this one, the right side is lower than the left side. That looks curvy to me.
okay, I get if you say so. It looks flat to me, but whatever.
If you look closely at the edges, it's slightly lower than the dotted line on the edges than it is in the middle. But it's subtle. It's hard to
Don't
see.
really see what you're talking about there. I guess I don't know, wishful thinking, I suppose.
No, not at all. Look at it closely and
I'm
be
looking
honest.
at it. I don't see what you're talking about at all. So
It's flat, bro. It's just flat. There's no
you're gonna
curve
tell me
there.
that's curved, that's a curved horizon. Okay.
Can you pause
If you
that
say so, dude.
Can you
Whatever.
pause it?
This is the thing. This is this point you're trying to make about flat earthers that
Go back for a second and pause it so it's not moving anymore with your dotted line. Stop it. Oh, this guy. Turn off your sound music.
Why?
Well, you're taking up the screen. That's why.
I had stuff with it.
Okay, so how high would we need to go before we see the curve in your
Okay.
opinion?
Look at this picture. Hold on a second. This other guy keeps. Look at that picture. Now, you can't tell me that on the right side, that Earth, where the line is sort of coming across, you can't say that on the right side there isn't more space, more blue space between the dotted line and the white stuff than on the left, where there's a little bit more.
No, I don't really see that. Look at there. There's a blue space
It's a
here.
difference of about a 1/16 of an inch almost.
No, I don't see that. Look, there's a blue space underneath the line.
Go backward, back out. On the right side, it's bluer under the white line than it is
Well,
on the
it's
left.
a little. If you're just talking about light intensity, because the light's coming from this direction, but it's flat, obviously. Look on in this case, it's more bluer on this side. It has to do with just the cloud cover and the light intensity. It's not.
And this
thing
is not the
flat.
same. So you're
Okay,
saying
you're saying that this shows the curve of the Earth. Okay, to you,
that's two separate
the
images.
curve of the Earth. Great.
These are
all
different.
right.
Images,
You're
different
retarded.
times.
That's the problem. You're dishonest. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't want to say
taking
dishonest.
you to
I'm not
space.
being dishonest. I'm not making this shit up. Fuck you.
Okay, if you say so. Whatever, dude. I don't know, man. I guess you'll
If
just
these are
see a
all-
curve in a.
If these
Okay,
are
where's
all-
the curve? Where's the curve, dude? Where's the
If this
curve?
is the same, if this image is taken at the same time from the same image, why is the light changing? Positions.
Because there's cloud cover that's spinning around, and the sun's coming from a specific direction, and there's different
So,
intensity of clouds in different spots. Look, okay, where's the curve in this frame? Where's the curve
There's a
in this
lot of.
frame?
You know what though? Here's your dishonesty. There's all of that happening, affecting where the blue and the white is, and this means nothing. There's no
Oh, okay, but I thought you could go to space and see the curve.
I don't know if you can go to space or not. I'm just
No,
basing
you
it off
just
the
said
people
if
that
we took
actually
it-
do this stuff for a living telling
Oh,
us
but
you can't.
you just brought up this argument that if I went to space and I saw it was a globe, that I would have to accept that it was a globe. But when I made the reverse argument, you said no. If we went up to space and showed it was flat, and I claimed that you would still claim there was a curve and it was a globe. You denied that, but then look, footage from space, and look at that, it's flat, but you still think it's a globe.
And then I say, okay, let's look at this dotted line that you're presenting, and I'm I'm asking you why it might seem lower on the other side, and you're saying light intensity.
I don't think it
Yeah.
does.
So
Look.
what you're saying is that there is no. Let's agree on this point right here at least. If you're going to tell me that light intensity affects how that line looks on this horizon, then you're saying that there is no definitive line of the Earth that proves curve or otherwise.
Okay, where's the curve in this frame?
Look at the right side. You see how there's a little bit of blue that's higher above it, the white line, than on the left? Okay, there's not a consistent horizon line on this picture. So yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
look
there
good.
is. There's a totally consistent horizon line. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at it. It's flat.
You're not willing,
Are you
you're not
kidding
willing
me?
to notice.
Are you
You're
fucking
not-
kidding me? Look at
Yeah.
look at the image.
Okay. All right,
Are you
dude.
fucking kidding me?
I can't.
Look at that. You're telling me that's clearly it's a ball. Yes, clearly.
Mhm.
Nothing flat about that. It's
Yeah, I
exactly
didn't
what
say
we would
that.
expect to see on a globe. Right?
What I'm-
Just precisely what you'd expect to see on a globe. Obviously, it's a ball that we're looking at. This doesn't look flat.
matter, dude. You're talking about this whole picture. Well, there's nothing here that says.
No, we're talking about the horizon,
You're talking about
the
clouds and
shape of the
atmosphere.
terra firma part.
Nope, there is no terra firma. It's all fucking clouds. What are you talking
No,
about?
no, there's a differentiate. No, what do you think this horizon is caused by? Not the Earth?
I don't see it as a definitive terra fucking firma or water. I see clouds, shapeless clouds.
All right. I don't know, man. It seems like you're just talking nonsense at a certain point. So
Well, it
fine.
seems like you're not willing
Yes,
to-
think whatever you want. Yes. Yes,
Your
it
picture
has to.
isn't definitive.
Obviously, it's a globe, even though it looks totally flat when you
Your
go up
picture
and
isn't definitive. Your picture doesn't define anything. There's nothing to that that says it's absolutely flat.
Okay. Okay,
Just your
dude.
confirmation bias will look at it as it is.
Yep, you're a genius. You know what you're talking
And so
about.
are you using a ball of gas to show me. You know what, dude? You can't fucking admit that your picture isn't perfect. It doesn't define anything.
It doesn't need to be perfect. It shows it's flat within a reasonable approximation of
It shows
flatness.
that the clouds are at the horizon level. You can draw a line across the screen.
Shane. Okay, can I just say something real quick? Do you
Of course.
see what we're talking about as far as intellectual honesty? You are really trying to argue that there's curvature in that picture. It's
No, I'm not,
okay.
sir. I never said there was.
Nobody's saying that this is a definitive picture or proof or anything. But
I'm not saying
you have.
I'm saying that it isn't too. I'm with you on that. It's not dishonesty. I never said it was a curve. I said it looks like there could be a little bit of a curve in there. Not
It doesn't
dishonesty.
really sound like that, though. It just sounds like you're just arguing for curvature and something that looks completely flat. You could just say it looks flat.
No, but I'm telling you that that's also dishonest because it does not look completely flat. If you look closely enough at it and you're willing to toss aside that confirmation bias, there isn't a perfectly
Who's got the confirmation bias, dude? Give me a
You do.
break.
You
Give
do.
me a fucking break.
You do. You just showed me a picture where I could show you that
It was
it's not
flat.
completely in line with the globe. Yet all of a sudden, I have the confirmation bias. And I don't know
Yeah,
what
you
the
do.
guy's name is, so I'm sorry, sir. What was your name? With the comic character in the picture there?
Chocolate.
Okay. If you can honestly look at that line and tell me that it is exactly straight in every single one of those pictures, then you're being dishonest. Because in some cases,
No, look at it. Look at this footage. It looks flat. Admit it. Give me a fucking break.
Actually,
That
when
looks
I'm
flat
looking
to
at
me,
that
man.
footage, go back to that picture.
No, this is the footage without the line. Let's just look at the raw image, okay?
Pause it and look at it and tell me that it doesn't also look like it curves up on the outsides, like it's convex.
No, I'm not really seeing that.
It's higher on the left and right than it is in the middle.
Well, I think it's tilted. The camera is slightly tilted. That's what you're seeing there.
Then it would be lower on one side than the other. It curves up on both sides of this picture.
I think that maybe this glow, but that's just due to
Charlotte, do you not agree with
refraction
that?
of the lens.
Yeah,
But I
do
think
agree
that
with
this
that.
line is
I
flat.
think it's the lens.
Okay,
I think
so
it's the lens.
here's what I'm saying. You just said could be refraction of the lens. It doesn't
No,
matter.
because you're talking about because you're just talking about this little flaring up of this blue.
Yeah, it
But I'm
looks-
talking
yeah.
about the horizon line.
And you're talking about that, and I'm telling you that this picture shows it looks like it's actually like a bowl.
No, it doesn't, because the horizon line is flat.
This picture proves nothing either way. That's my point.
Well, I would say that this picture much more strongly supports the idea that it's flat than that it's curved.
I would say that if you're looking at this picture, it would be easier to think it's flatter than it isn't. But I'm saying that it doesn't.
I would
say
agree with you about that point. Yes.
So stop.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, Shane?
I'm telling you that much, but it doesn't definitively prove anything.
Can I
Yeah.
can I ask you a question?
Please.
Is it in any way to you slightly suspect that the only time we get images like this are when an amateur sends a balloon up? Like, we don't get anything like this from NASA, but
Yeah,
a regular Joe like you or me could put a camera on a balloon and send it up there, and this is what we get. That doesn't seem slightly strange to you?
Are you gonna let me answer your question?
Sure. I wasn't finished, but okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go for it. No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. Kinda, but at one point I realized that scientists and NASA don't care whether or not the Earth is a globe, as far as our on the ground conversations go. So I used to think that, then I thought, why would they? There's a couple of reasons behind this answer. One, NASA presented pictures of what most flat earthers completely reject as Earth. So they've already done what they think they need to do as far as that goes, if they have to prove it at all. Which to me, I think they were just taking a picture of Earth. But I don't think that they waste their time with these kinds of things, because to them it doesn't really matter. So yeah, it is weird that only amateurs do it, but at the same time, NASA's concern isn't whether or not we think the Earth is flat or a globe.
Well, it should be. It's a publicly funded institution that's meant to serve the public interest, right?
Yeah, but is the public interest as stupid? And let's be honest, this argument is kind of stupid, because ultimately it doesn't really matter to us, right? We have to live on this Earth anyway. So whether
it's about NASA proving that they're telling the truth about what they're doing, above all, that they're actually going to space and shit like that, which they don't provide any evidence for. They lost all the documentation.
Like, how would you feel if you took a picture of something and then everybody just tells you that's fake, right? Like this one here, I'm telling you that it doesn't prove anything, and you're getting pissed off at me and calling it something.
I'm just laughing at you because it's ridiculous.
Well, it's because you're too you're not critically thinking about this picture. You're just assuming.
I'm not critically thinking about this.
It fits your argument.
Yeah, it does fit my argument.
But you're not willing to look any further at it to see if it defends.
Oh, you're right. It all just stops here. I've never looked any further than this. You know that for sure.
You haven't, because you're not admitting that it looks like it actually bowls instead of.
It doesn't look like it bowls. That's just an optical illusion that you're seeing. I don't share. It's because the camera is not completely horizontally oriented.
It's because you're not
tilted slightly to this.
You're not willing to look at your picture that you're providing as some sort of proof to say that it may not be what you say it is, and look at it.
What are you talking about that it's bold? I'm not seeing that.
The right and the left on this lens look higher than the center.
I don't agree with you.
Well, it doesn't matter, because it's a fact.
It's not a fact. I'm saying that the camera is tilted slightly, that this side is slightly up this way compared to that side. It's not a bowl.
The camera doesn't matter. The orientation doesn't matter.
It does. I'm not. This horizon line is flat.
It's distorting the view, and now it's a dishonest picture.
How is it a dishonest picture?
Because you're talking about the camera distorting something on this image.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that it looks.
You are. You just said that the camera's tilted. So what is that? What difference does it make?
Tilted isn't distort. Tilting doesn't. No, tilting doesn't distort the image. Tilting the camera. Tilting the camera doesn't distort the image.
And it's not distorted, so it looks like it's curved up on both sides, and you're just.
It doesn't look like it's curved up on both sides. You're just making that up. I don't know where you're getting that from. That's just you just trying to throw some fucking shade on a really good observation that clearly shows a flat Earth.
Nami, I honestly think this video here should be plausible too then, but of course the camera is kinda strange here. I mean, it's the same as with your picture, with your video before. You can't rely it on the video if it is the shape, because it starts to shift, and it's exactly the same as with yours. I mean,
what do you mean it's mine?
I could say this is the proof of a curved Earth. No, it isn't, because it's obviously the camera that has, that makes it as appear like it. But and yet I can honestly admit it is like this. But it's the same as in your video.
What do you mean? I don't have a video.
Or the thing you showed. I don't know. Wait a moment. The thing you showed here. Yeah, the video you showed.
This video?
Yeah.
Okay, what? I don't understand what you're trying to say about this video.
So,
I'm not saying that this is the final argument on the matter. I'm just saying that he brought up if we went to space and we could, and it looked like a globe, that he said flat earthers wouldn't admit it. I said it's the other way around, that if we brought a globe to space, so that it looked flat, that they wouldn't admit it.
Yeah,
so
sorry,
we look at an image of we go to space on this balloon, we look at it looks flat, and lo and behold, the glober still says no, it's curved. It looks like a globe, even though it looks flat. So I was just proving
let me just prove this point,
psychological
honestly.
fucking bias is reversed to what he's saying.
Yeah, I didn't get the first conversation.
Just yesterday, we watched the Baumgartner jump.
Yeah.
And that's how the globe is represented, like it's a huge curve. And right here, you're grasping at straws to find the curve.
Yeah, okay,
Can you put that Baumgartner up, Nummy?
Yeah.
This is that dude that went to space and jumped from space.
As far as you believe it, because you read it a bunch of times, so it makes it a fact, right?
I don't know. You gotta understand that when I approach this argument, I don't disbelieve it. I just don't know for sure.
And didn't Felix Baumgartner die from like 100,000 feet, something like that himself?
Yeah, I have some. Alright, you have some. Yeah, this looks too curved.
Why is it too curved? You believe it's a ball. It should look just right.
Because it looks like with a fisheye lens.
Well, what makes you say that? I mean, it looks pretty normal to me, doesn't it?
Hey, by the way, I would expect.
And look at the flat horizon when he looks out the window. Look at that! Wow.
Yeah, but look how much
flat that is.
It's curved here. You can clearly see it's a little curved when you look at.
That's no curve.
No, not curved.
I would expect to see.
That's curved. You're gonna tell me those are the same two things we're seeing right now?
Yeah,
that's the same. That's the same curve we're seeing. Come on, Zinder. Look at that.
Those are two different cameras, aren't they?
Look at that. How much of the Earth is not there?
Those are different cameras for different purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is why looking at stupid videos doesn't prove anything.
Look, that's flat.
So one is extremely curved, the other one's flat, and that's not a problem.
Though. Look, that's flat. Look.
One of them showed more of the Earth, but I think the other one is a fisheye lens.
Yeah, and I know. I'm just saying that he was saying that looked curved out of this view, but look, there's a line.
No, look at the blue thing.
I would expect to see a fair amount of flatness.
The blue layer, this little blue layer.
Yeah, look.
No, I mean the up there.
What do you mean up there?
The bluer, the slightly brighter blue.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest on the top.
Yeah, I'm on that. Look.
No, go up. Go up.
Can
you see the difference in blue? Yeah. I meant that looked a little curved. I didn't mean the
Yeah, but I'm looking at the horizon. Look, the horizon.
Yeah.
Flat. Boom. So anyways, the point is that this is what Globers will argue. Oh, look, it's the curve.
Yeah,
we had a guy on last night. Me and Earth Flattener argued with the guy for like an hour last night, where he claimed that nope, this was the real curve of the real globe Earth. We wouldn't let it go.
That's fine.
Wait, with Thomas?
Yeah.
Oh, I went to sleep I think at the beginning of your conversation.
Yeah, well, this guy just insisted that this was not a fisheye lens, that this was the real curvature of the Earth. He wouldn't let it go.
No, I don't think that I don't think that the curve should look so extremely like this.
Right, but I think what Chocolate was asking is why do they always show this kind? Why do these organizations always show the Earth through a fisheye lens to make it appear curved. Why don't they ever show it how it actually looks?
Well,
I
I
your
think
question
because
is wrong. Your question is
those.
no, it's not that. It's not that at all. I don't think that they're actually trying to show the Earth. I don't think that was the purpose of the camera.
Yeah, this
They
was
weren't up
my
there
point.
going,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're going to prove the curve." This guy was up there to do some stupid ass stuff.
No, but neither was this.
This was purposely to see the curve, wasn't it not?
I don't think so. I think this was re-uploaded, but just but I don't think that this actually. I'm not sure.
All right,
I know
fair
that
enough.
I've seen some observations that were just people who just put balloons up, and it wasn't to support either side of the debate. It was just to show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I got to tell you
Okay,
guys.
but you're gonna. I can't believe that anyone would argue that this doesn't look flat. I mean, it's beyond me how you could argue that this.
I guess you're just not looking at it closely enough because on the right and left, it does kind of a smile effect.
Yeah, but then you have the Baumgartner that looks like the ball that you're expected to believe.
I don't know about
and here
that.
you're grasping at straws, saying that it's concave.
I'm not grasping at fucking straws.
You
All
are.
I'm
Yes,
saying
you are.
is that no, I'm not.
It's just that look. It's like the photo is tilted slightly to the up on the
I'm
left
telling
side, like
you
I
what
said.
observed. That's it. That's not a grasp of straws. That's not grasping. It's just saying that's what I see. And I would expect to see a flatness on a circle at a certain position and scale. What program is that?
It's just taking a screenshot.
You're on an Apple, okay. I'm not. I can't afford an Apple computer.
I think I
about
spent
that.
too much for mine. Not a Macintosh, just normal PC. 2,000. Those things are so expensive here.
Well, Switzerland, it costs $10 for a fucking coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I mean, what do we pay? Like $80 a month for public transportation, if you want to use it, without taxes. So, yeah. But it's a good transportation system.
I have an honest question that's going to be somewhat inflammatory to you flat earthers, though. But I do need to know this part. Why is it that you won't accept imagery from NASA, but you'll accept these kinds of as definitive proof?
Because this kind of imagery can be done by amateurs and repeated by average people.
It can be faked also, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I think that there's a lot more reason to think that since it's even feasible for me to repeat this evidence, that's a more of a reason to imagine that it's more likely not fake.
Yeah, but
you're right. I'm not claiming that this is the definitive fucking argument either. So
you kind of did earlier say that this is proof.
No, I didn't. I said it. I never said that was the end of the argument.
This is being recorded, so I guess we can go back later and I can pick it out for you. But you said something to that effect.
Look, so when I reorient this photo, so that we lock the horizon to the grid, look at that, flat as fuck, as fuck. So I was right in my assertion that really what you're perceiving as the bowl is because it's tilted up on one side slightly, just like I said.
All right, stop. Go back to your thing here. Now move your little marching ants up until they match the blue at the very top of that image.
Yeah, but that's not the horizon.
Just do that much for me.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything about it. A little bit more.
Look, so it flares up on both sides a little bit because that's the lens flaring effect.
That's what I was telling you. That's what I'm saying. What's causing that?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it. Because look, what I'm pointing out is that you're claiming that this bowl shape is just your misperception of the photograph when you're looking, but the horizon is actually totally flat.
Yeah, but you're also looking at you're also looking at clouds, and it's not clear, right? You can't see
No,
the
no. That's not. You said it was bowl shaped, and I'm saying you were misperceiving it because it was tilted, and it turned out I'm right.
I was talking about. Well, no, stop right there. Go back up. No, you know what? Bounce up a bit. It actually, yeah, right there. It's not completely.
What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about a slight gradient on the right.
No.
Yep, keep going. Yeah, that's not perfectly flat all the way across.
Yeah, it is. Are you crazy?
No, it isn't. It isn't.
No, it's not. Why? Because there's a piece of cloud sticking up here.
Well,
Look,
there
the
is
horizon is flat.
Oh
my god, this is just hilarious.
No, yeah, it is hilarious. You're being an asshole. If you look on the left, there's more white on that side than there is on the right. I'm sorry, dude. No matter
No, there's
what.
not. Okay, what are you talking about?
Okay, scroll over to your left.
Mm-hmm.
Find the top of the white that you're looking at there.
Well, how are we going to define it? It's kind of a gradient.
It's probably about 5, not maybe 5, 3 or 4 or 5 pixels up.
Okay, I see that as not being the top of the white myself.
Down a little bit. Maybe down a little bit. Right about, no, one more up. Go up a bit.
Okay, so we have to just suit it.
Even
right,
okay. On the left, there's nothing but white all the way up.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, look. It's hard to, it's not exactly perfectly clear.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say this whole
Yeah,
point.
I know, but the point is that there's no bowl shape and that it's clearly basically flat.
You have to know, and you can't be stupid enough to not believe that if I were to draw a line against a circle, depending on how large the circle is, it's going to be flat for a portion of that arc.
Okay, so how far would we have to go up before it would start to look like a ball, do you think?
I don't know if you'd have to go farther, but you'd have to be able to pull back enough to see more of that distance.
Do you think it's possible? So you don't buy the claim that when globe earthers say that they can see the curve from out of a plane then?
I don't buy that, no.
Okay, because a lot of globe earthers say that.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, but that's what globe earthers say, so I guess you believe that too, right?
Let's yeah, well, no, I didn't say, and I want to take you back.
But that's what globe earthers believe, so.
Well, don't do that. I never said all of you believe one thing. I said most of the ones I talked to wouldn't believe it if they went to space.
Yeah, but that's, in my experience, this is what globers believe. They say that you can see the curve from out of a plane.
Well, I don't believe it.
Yeah, but that's what globe earthers believe, though, so I guess you're not a globe earther?
Some of them do. No,
okay, but most of the ones that I talk to believe that, so doesn't that represent your view?
Of them, maybe they do. Maybe most of them. Does that mean that if you're a glober, you have to believe that?
No, but I guess, I don't know. I guess you're not a glober then.
Well, I'm not a globe earther because I don't believe what they believe.
I'm just fucking around with you. I'm just showing you the kind of debates that we have to have with these people.
Yeah, but I'm telling you that I don't necessarily lump people and make blanket statements. If you tell me you believe that you would see the Earth as a globe into space, then I believe you. But I would also believe it's flat if I saw the entire Earth from space and it was flat. If we want to talk mathematically, we're talking about circles.
Yeah, well, that's where this argument started. So you're claiming that if I went to space and saw it was a globe, I would maintain it was flat, but not you, because you're more intellectually honest.
No, I said if you went to space and you told me that you saw the globe Earth and came back, and you believed that. If I went to space,
I said I would believe it.
If I went to space and saw that the Earth was like some flat disk or whatever floating through space, then yeah, I would change my belief on that. I don't have.
Okay, but then when we look at footage from space and it looks flat, then you deny that it looks flat. So.
Well, I was about to go back to that for a second. We're talking about like take a circle, and you have a line. You draw a line across it. At some point, mathematically speaking, that line would only cross at one point. That's the definition of a circle.
Okay, but what height should it start to appear?
I'm not done. On a large enough scale, a flat line on a circle will actually look flat for some distance. In fact, if you had a big enough circle and you had a long enough line touching that circle at one point, at some point it would look like it was flat as far as you could, because of scale. So I expect to see a flat portion of the Earth if we're looking at it
from merely 120,000 feet.
Yeah, it depends on how much is actually from left to right. Because if we're
Okay,
looking
so
at
at what altitude would you expect to start to see the curve?
I don't know about altitude.
Nami, I have a pretty nice site that could answer the question, because it's not only the altitude, it's also your viewing angle, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I would need to say how much of the actual physical surface of the Earth are we looking at?
I'm going to post the website so you can see for yourself. I think it's kind of interesting one.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Ah, okay, then you can answer it.
I forgot about it though, so thanks for the reminder.
I would probably have to see like 25% of the surface, say from the North Pole down to 25 degrees, or maybe I'm thinking wrong.
So when I'm going to fly, I'm going to be on 10,000 meters. If my view is, I don't know, like 5%, they say I should be able to see the curve. Oh wait, it's kind of strange.
5% of the Earth, like from one angle to another.
Yeah, it
Like
won't
the North
happen.
Pole, 5 degrees south or something.
Yeah, it won't happen when I look out of a plane window. Never.
No, it's too big for us to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to. Okay, this is what they're. Okay, this is like the height that footage is supposed to be at 120,000 feet, right? So here's Bislin's simulation, right? Oh wait, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry, hold on. Okay, so this is what, like, I don't know. I haven't tried
Shout out
to.
retracted.
So this is what Walter Bislin says we should see as curvature, but I'm not sure about the viewing angle yet. How could we determine the viewing angle?
Without seeing actual land, it'd be hard to tell how much of the Earth is seen.
Well, it's just more about knowing what kind of camera you had based on the altitude.
Okay. You know what kind of camera that is?
Well, I'm not sure exactly, no, but we could. Okay, well, we'll take a really conservative estimate. How about? So let me just look at this.
Wait, so Shane, I got another question for you.
Yeah, man.
All right, so you said it has nothing to do with actual altitude, right? So do you think that this footage, if you were to not go higher but move out from it, you think you would actually start to see curves?
Well, and it's an interesting question because I understand why you're asking it. I mean, obviously, altitude is going to matter at some point, and you have to get higher to get full out. You can't just go backward on that. I suppose on a flat Earth you could. It wouldn't matter that. But if you're up there, if you're flying up there and your camera can only see, if you're 120,000 feet, the camera only takes a picture of, say, 100 miles of the Earth somehow, which I know would probably be impossible. So,
okay, so listen, if we look at my screen,
500 miles or whatever. So I think what matters is altitude is going to naturally create more of a view of the Earth. But if you're up 120,000 feet and you can only see 500 miles of something, it's hard to say that you would see a curve. The circumference is 24,000 miles, which is another, what is that? 10, 15, 20, 50 times that size. I wonder how much, how far you'd have to go up to actually see enough of the Earth to see a curve in there. And then we also have to think about who's taking the picture, because.
Well, okay, I want you to look at my screen for a second here, okay?
I'm trying.
So if we took the most conservative estimate at the viewing angle based on that of a lens, and it's probably a much wider lens than the one that I'm using here. This is the amount of curvature we should supposedly be able to see at that altitude. And do you think that resembles the? Do you think that resembles the footage here? Let's put them next to each other.
No, of course it doesn't.
Okay, so and I'm making a very conservative. I'm erring on the side of that would favor your argument in the sense that I've used a standard lens, like a standard 35 mil, 50 millimeter lens.
Without that, if this is the Baumgartner jump, what the fuck? No, that's probably not it.
This is not the Baumgartner jump. I'm saying that according to this guy's website, who calculates how much curvature we should see by altitude and viewing angle, that even if we have a very conservative estimate of the viewing angle, that it doesn't seem to match up with what this Walter Bislin's site, as suggested by Zinder, as that we should see. It seems to indicate that we should see, and like I'm saying, I'm erring on the side of caution here in terms of how much curvature we should be.
I don't know if you're erring on the side of caution. We don't know what that camera is. If we knew, then I could agree with you on that. But I'm understanding why you're trying to say that.
You don't think okay, so you think he's using an extra narrow lens?
How the fuck should I know what he's using, dude? Do you know? We don't know.
Well, I think it's pretty safe to, I would say it's probably safe to say he's using something at standard to wide, not something narrow.
And what did you put on there? Standard?
Yeah.
Tighten it up a bit.
Okay, we'll just tighten it up to the point where it matches the observation that will favor your argument, right?
Okay, let's do that, and we'll see what camera it would take flat. If it weren't flat. What the fuck is this? Oh, you have to narrow it.
So if we were using like a 70 millimeter zoom,
it gets closer.
Yeah, but they're not going to be doing that, dude. That's like ridiculous.
Well, let's not make that claim. You don't think they are? Probably.
Okay. Well, I wish we could find it.
If I can trust an expert, you can say that.
I'm so positive that. Okay, but what would you? Okay, so what would you? Let's just say if I could find. No, just shut up for a second. What if I can find a footage like this, and we do know the viewing angle, and it doesn't match that? And are you going to admit that it's probably wrong?
I guess you're just going to put words in my mouth, so why bother talking about it?
No, I'm just asking you a question.
You're actually not. You're telling me something. That I'm just going to blah, blah, blah.
No, I said, what if? I said, what if?
And then you answered your question. Let me tell you something. Show me something that you can't get out
I said, what if we actually did that?
Show me something that you know the camera angle, that you know how much of the Earth you're looking at, you know the elevation, which may or may not matter. And then we'll talk about it. If it looks flat, I'm willing to talk about that.
All right.
But then you also see, and then here's the problem with this argument, though. As we're arguing this one aspect, it can be clear that we can't see the curve in certain, in others we can see the curve. So that's one piece of evidence in the picture. But we also have to answer other problems. Things like ships disappearing over the horizon, the moon phases, etc. Not just one. That one picture is going to be interesting.
Well, I would agree with that. I don't think that you have to argue the various points of evidence.
And the picture here, maybe we got the size of the Earth wrong, but I don't know. Probably not.
Well, if the size of the Earth is wrong, then your whole model's fucked.
I know. And I think right now we have a pretty good analyzer view of
Yeah,
that.
well, we have analyzed it, and we figured out that it's fucked, but you just don't accept that.
What you've done, what most, not you specifically, maybe you, but many flat earthers don't analyze anything. They just come up with something that they don't understand. It's their basic.
Yeah, but you know what you guys have done? The globe earthers, they say they can see the curve out of the window of a plane. So most of them don't know what they're talking about, right? So I guess that you guys don't know what you're talking about, since that's what globe earthers say.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. You got us.
I'm just saying what you just brought up this argument from generalization again.
I also said most, and I didn't say you. So let's keep it to that.
So who cares what most people are stupid. So who cares what most people think in any given group?
Okay, let me back up for you and clear about this. I have talked to plenty of flat earthers, and I've seen all of the evidence there, and none of it provides any critical thinking about what they're actually talking about.
So I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying now.
The most common argument is water finds its own level, right?
Mm-hmm.
You sound smart enough to know that it's not.
I can't. You got to speak a bit more clearly.
I'm probably not close enough.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I have a fan going. What I'm saying is that I have not yet spoken to a flat earther that has shown me evidence that I can't find
That what?
by doing a little bit of research.
You're echoing.
Okay, hold on. Weird that just started happening again. I have not talked to a flat earther that's provided me any evidence that I couldn't easily debunk or that shows any critical thinking. As a result of that, it usually comes down to water finds its own level, and that's the end of that particular discussion with a flat earther. You sound smart enough to know that it's not just that, but many of the ones I speak to pretty much leave their critical thinking at water finds its level, the earth is flat, without realizing that water is a liquid that reacts to any force applied to it. So it's not a definitive enough argument to say that earth is round or flat, but that critical thinking is usually not carried past that with most
Well,
of the
I agree with that. I don't.
Some of them are, understand those basic critical
I think
aspects of
you're
that.
wrong. I don't know. I know a lot of. I've met talked to a lot more flat earthers than you probably have, and I don't think that most of them would hang their hat on that evidence alone.
Really? Because most of the ones I talk to hang their hat on that one, and then a few other. But no, that's not the point of it.
Well, when you say you probably haven't talked to that many, so your sample size isn't very good.
Well, I've spoken to enough, and I've seen enough comments to
Okay,
know.
well,
that
I think I'm suspecting I've probably talked to a lot more than you have.
I don't care. That's not my.
That's not been my experience. So
Please stop.
I guess it's kind of a moot point.
Stop arguing the straw man of that argument. This is what I said. Most of them have that sort of level of critical thinking that I talk to. That one common argument seems to be enough for them. Sure, they have lots of other arguments to toss out. I'm talking about that as a critical argument example. Water finds its own level, mic drop. That's not enough for me.
Okay, I don't know anyone who does that, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, am I crazy? I see that every time I talk to one of you guys.
Okay, I don't know. That's not been my experience. Okay,
Can
that's
you
I
argue
don't know
that
how
that's
many
not
you're
a good
talking
argument?
It happens every day. What, Chuck?
Talk to flat earthers every day.
That's not a good argument in your opinion?
It's not enough. It's one of those arguments that you bring up and then you discuss, and then you think critically. But the problem with that argument is it doesn't seem like anybody's asking themselves why that happens. It's just that it does, and that's enough.
All right, I get that.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't know anyone who makes that argument. So I don't know why you're bringing that up. If we're not making that argument now and here, why is that germane to this conversation? How is that germane to this conversation?
Are you focusing on the fact that I'm talking about the water is level thing? It had a bigger point to it if you were listening.
Yeah, what's your bigger point? So you're saying this is what flat earthers that I talked to before allegedly said to me.
The original segue into this particular aspect of our arguing was that you were talking about how globers say that they can see the curve out of an airplane, and so therefore everybody does, which I know you were not, I know you don't believe that, but you were saying it. And so my point was, I said most flat earthers, et cetera, and then I got into it and said that, listen, I have not yet met a flat earther who has been able to show me any proof of a flat earth. Initially, I said most, but so far I haven't seen anything from a flat earther that gives me any pause.
Nami, I think flat earthers have some really many good and interesting points why the Earth is flat. Yet the reason why I'm a globe earther is because I know the heliocentric model has some counterintuitive things, and which I still really don't get, and which still don't really make sense to me. But yet, the flat Earth model has many more, or not model, sorry, but the idea of a flat Earth has so many more of those things than I think the heliocentric model does. For example, the sun not shrinking in angular size
Right.
when at sunset, right? And then people came up with, yeah, it's not a physical object. It's it's like more metaphysical direction. And
Right.
No, I wouldn't argue that. I don't, that's not what I would say.
yeah, but the reason I say it, like on Nathan's show, like the sun has no distance, is a good explanation why the sun doesn't shrink in angular size, and yet a thing without distance doesn't make any sense to me, because I've never seen something without a distance. You know?
Sure, you have a rainbow.
Yeah, this is something else, because a rainbow still shrinks in size.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That's the whole point. A rainbow doesn't shrink in size when you back away from it. It always appears the same size. That's the exact point they're trying to make with that, is that it doesn't have a size. That the appearance of the rainbows, the apparent size of the rainbow is completely independent of angle or distance from it. From
the rainbow you
can't see a rainbow
when you. I mean.
There won't be
Yeah,
any
I know.
colors.
I never noticed it so much, but I mean, the thing that looks like a rainbow when you turn on the shower on the beach.
Turn on the shower on the beach.
Yeah, and then you can see like a little rainbow.
Yeah.
It's always appeared to me that it's a different size, and yet you can only see the rainbow from a certain angle, right? Because then it disappears.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that, okay, like let's say like a rainbow, that a normal actual rainbow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you're
After
right.
like that, you can back away. That the point they're trying to make is that even if you move a kilometer away, like if you back up a kilometer, the rainbow will not change size.
Yeah, and the thing about
You're saying
rainbows.
that you've never seen anything that it couldn't change size based on distance. Well, there's an example of something.
Here you're right. Here you're right. But yet the rainbow is a combination of light from the sun and your angle from where you look at, because the rainbow disappears at some point when you drive at a certain point, right? Because
or something like that.
Yeah,
What?
but we really don't know what the nature of the light is coming from the sun, right? Because it also could be things like that it's some sort of like fluorescing effect on gases within the atmosphere that's based on electrical conductivity. So we don't actually have any. I think that's the point that they're trying to make, is that we don't actually know the nature of the sun itself, so we can't draw solid inferences.
Well, I mean, what I can see is when the sun is up, I feel heat and I see light. When I look in the sun, I'm going to get blind. This is a place where those things come from, and this looks like a shape, like a ball or like a disc, whatever you want to call it. And when it's blocked by something, or appears to be blocked by something, you get shadow, right? So I can't understand why people call it or can compare it with a rainbow in terms of the distance and so, because for me something without distance can't cause a shadow when something is in the way. You know, it's so counterintuitive that I'd rather stick with the globe, because it's so strange, dude.
Yeah,
I have to
well,
go
I
in the
would say that I
metaphysical.
agree. It's very mysterious, and that there aren't a lot of like. There's no answers, but on the same token, I would say that there aren't really solid answers on either side as to the nature of the sun. But that when it comes down to the evidence that when it comes down to actually measuring the ground itself and not relying on celestial observations, that the evidence very clearly favors the flat Earth model. Things like gyroscopes, surveying.
I know nothing favors the flat Earth model unless you
No,
want it.
sure, of course it does. The way that gyroscopes function.
Only if you want it to.
No,
I got it, man. I'm
if you
fucking
understand
straight.
how gyroscopes work with rigidity in space, then you'll understand exactly why they should show the curvature.
Navigation favors the globe. And I gotta go. I'm hungry as fuck. I'm shaking. So it's good talking to you guys. Thanks for inviting me to Mars.
Have a nice day.
Shaking.
He's
Bye.
shaking.
He
Just
looks like
ate
he's
before.
eaten plenty, so shouldn't be shaking.
What?
Nothing.
I've gotten to the point where I'm so hungry that I'm like shaking. So I haven't eaten breakfast. Anyway, bye.
Bye.
But were you fat? You were fat shaming him. But why is it always fat people that claim they're so hungry that they're shaking? It's I've noticed that though. Every time I hear someone say, "I'm so hungry, I'm shaking," it's always a fat person.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes when I'm hungry, I'm just too lazy to eat, and then I forget about that I'm hungry. But I don't shake. I mean,
Yeah, me neither. I don't yeah,
I always thought like laziness makes people fat, but I think laziness keeps me like not becoming fat.
yeah, it's like, but extreme laziness will keep you skinny.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to go all the way with the laziness.
Yeah,
If you're half-assed about your laziness, you end up fat.
yeah.
Always going to the grocery store and buying food and preparing it and picking it up and putting it in your mouth. So much work.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't eat that much.
Yeah.
I actually had a dream that's making me remember that I had this dream last night that I looked in the mirror and I was like skeletally skinny in this dream.
Oh.
But I'm not in real life, but I just you saying that made me have this flash. You know how like that can happen? Somebody says something and then like it brings you.
Yeah, it always happens to me.
But I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty like, I would say I'm very lean. Like I have pretty like low body fat, but like I had this dream that I was like, oh my god, what happened? Like I weighed like, it's like I lost like 40 pounds or something from where I'm at now.
Yeah, I think I'm lean too. I mean, or maybe I don't know if I'm a little bit underweight, like 1 pound or so, but it doesn't really matter at some point. I mean, if you're 2 pounds underweight or like 2 pounds overweight, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good point.
But okay, so Zinder, don't you think when you look at that footage though, like, see, this is why I think like, okay, what if we showed a balloon at 500,000 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just looked flat? Then would you accept it was flat?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I could verify this is a true picture or wasn't manipulated or so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because many high altitude balloon footages, they almost every one of those show the curve when I look just at high altitude balloon, right? And are those all fisheye lenses?
Well, yeah, for
Or
the most part, they're using wide angle light.
yeah, but some look flat. I have to agree. I mean, some look kind of flat.
Yeah, well, the ones that are using non-distorting lenses look flat. Yeah.
And some look like the Earth is the opposite of curved. Like it is curved, but in the wrong direction. You know, like really strange. I mean, of course, this is a lens effect too, but I have to compare those things. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just reading a message someone just sent me.
But Nami, I think you did prove your point exactly with what you were saying, that like what the guy was telling you, or if you send a flat earther to space, you deny it. Well, you showed him flat, and he argued for curve. Like you proved your point to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just silly. Like you're really arguing about that. Like there's no intellectual honesty at all with these guys. With a lot of them.
Well, it's just bias. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I get it, but just be honest with yourself. Look, I don't believe that the freak. Just an example. I don't believe the moon is a ball. I don't think it's a physical ball, a physical sphere up there. But there are clearly times when it looks like it to me, and I could say that, without fearing like, oh my God, I sound like a glober. It's completely different. It's just just being honest with myself.
Right. Well, yeah, and my point was that he was like, even if you went to space and saw it was a globe, then you'd think that you were in some CGI reality or something, right? And I was like, yeah, look who's talking. Hold on for a second. I just got to get a drink. Zinder, you got to look into the gyroscopes thing, man. I'm telling you, it proves it.
Is it this?
Really does.
Yeah.
It really does show that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I will have time on the flight. So.
What about the thing about like, okay, Zinder, how about like the Earth rotation? Like that's it. Let's just try to argue about whether the Earth's rotating.
Yeah, wait a moment. Isn't it strange how on a solar eclipse it looks like it matches perfectly the moon and the sun, almost perfectly? Like if it was a little bit closer to the heliocentric model, a little bit farther away, it would look completely different. I mean, it looks so perfect here.
Well,
right?
we're in the Goldilocks zone, man.
Yeah. We had luck, dude. We're just the luckers from the solar system.
Yeah.
So what the rotation thing? Yeah, the rotation thing you want to say.
I would, also like things like tidal locking doesn't make any sense. Like we don't have any evidence for rotation of anything, the Earth or the moon. The moon doesn't rotate. The Earth doesn't seem to rotate. But I was gonna say, like, if you just think about airplanes flying over a rotating surface, it becomes pretty clear that the Earth can't be rotating.
I mean, like I've seen like comparisons of how it would look like on a basketball, right? Like look how the Earth would rotate if you look at the basketball and then you look at it for 1 minute and you can't see shit, right? So I think Earth's rotation doesn't even play such big of a role because.
Okay, but if it's spinning towards, like, if it's spinning in one direction and you flew with or against that direction, don't you think that would have an effect on flight times?
No, because it's only the relative things that matter. I mean,
what do you mean relative to what? What are you talking about by relative?
I mean, if you start with a certain speed of Earth's rotation, you will keep this velocity until you start to fly in the other direction or so, or until you start to fly faster.
Okay, so what if we start at the North Pole and we flew to the equator?
I think airplane isn't a ballistic object, right? It's called like a ballistic object is something that doesn't have a motor and can like turn around or so, right? Or I don't remember the word. Like ballistic object, like a bullet, right? So if
that doesn't.
it,
I don't think that really has a. That doesn't really have a factor in what I'm trying to explain here.
yeah, but
Like
if you were in a ballistic object, then you wouldn't be able to fly straight forward anymore because of the Coriolis effect. That has to do with the differences from like North Pole to the equator. Right?
the
Like we
Coriolis
would make a
effect is
curve.
only a. The Coriolis effect is just is just something that changes the appearance of how things appear to move from somebody who's on the ground. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual motion of the airplane.
Yeah, I mean, if the airplane was a ballistic object, it would have something to do with it.
Well, no, because the Coriolis effect doesn't actually change anything. It's just an appearance thing. It just changes. All the Coriolis effect is that from the perspective of a rotating frame of reference, things that are actually moving straight appear to be moving on a curved line, but it doesn't actually change the direction that anything's truly moving.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Depends on which if you're on the ground, right, or in the plane. I know. You enter differences in speed of the rotation of the Earth. So at some point you will appear to make a curve when you go to the equator. You know what I mean? I'm always hearing myself. This is so annoying.
Yeah, I hear your echo.
I'm just trying to find this thing. I actually made this. I think I came up with a sort of a math. It's almost like a math problem that that you could put on a test or something. That I think kind of demonstrates the point that I'm trying to make here. So I'll drop it in the thing, and you can
Yeah. Take your
can,
time. I will be back soon.
I have it ready now, but notice he's gone. This is this problem that I wrote for Globers.
What are you, like a flat earth teacher?
No, it's just a problem that I made. So if you can answer it, then I'd be interested to know what you had to say about it. But it's kind of it's sort of just written along the lines of what like a math problem on a test or something. I'm just interested to see if any globe earthers could actually create a satisfying answer to how it could be otherwise. What I'm stating here. Because I think that what I wrote here actually is a pretty strong proof that the Earth is not rotating.
You're wrong.
Did you post it already?
Yeah, I put it in the side chat.
Oh, okay.